Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Y'all know what it is. It's Tales from the Jails. We're here live in Power Rooms USA, TNS Media Group with the team and the family. Got my counterpart over here with me, Mr. Brahim Jackson. We got a special guest, Kareem Dante, a.k.a. KD from Philadelphia, is here with us today to tell his story. What's up, KD, man? What's going on, man?
All is well, man. Just trying to stabilize my life and get things back in order so that I can stay out here and be able to function outside or the outer parameters of society, which is new and peculiar to me because majority of my time was spent behind the wall.
You heard that, y'all? All the listeners out there, everybody, all the viewers. He said majority of his time was behind that wall, that prison wall. If you do me a favor, Katie, pull the mic just a little close to you. There you go. So, tell us from the Jails, what we do is we allow you the opportunity to speak about what you want to speak about, leave out what you want to leave out. So we just here to talk about, prison and try to deter the youth and those older people who are out here breaking law. No, prison is not a place to be.
But it's real live facts that a lot of us has went through.
For sure. For sure. And before we start, I want to thank everybody who came out to the live show this past Saturday, man. All the family, all the fans, everybody who was there, man, to support us, man. It was greatly appreciated. It was a crazy event. It was packed. The house was, full of energy. So I want to thank y'all for tuning in with us, man. And so let's get to this, man. Let's get to this episode. So, where you from originally? What part of Philly?
I'm originally from North Philadelphia, 17th and Cumberland, but majority and the bulk of my time was spent down 11th Philadelphia, which is the Logan section of Philadelphia.
Logan. A lot of good people know from Logan. What's called brief over there?
You know Shotty?
That's one of my closest comrades.
Yes, yeah. That's the big homie. That's the big homie. Shout out to Shotty.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
So, coming up, early, what that was for you? Like you was born. I'm assuming you was born. Don't want to put an age in. You was born what, in the 70s?
I was born 1978.
1978. So you got into crime and breaking law what, in the 80s, early 90s.
Yes, the end of 88, 89. So that's when I began to have a life of crime.
How old was you at that time?
11 years old.
11 years old. So the thing we hear about a lot of these young guys who are breaking law, like we just seeing a 14-year-old young guy who just killed the delivery man. So it's not saying that this is something new, because it's been going on for a while. People have been, committing crimes at such young ages, like you said yourself, like 11 years old, and it's been going on for a while. So what led you to, spilling out into the streets and, and getting into the criminal activity?
Well, when I was growing up, man, we grew up extremely poor. We was desolate. We wasn't just a person that didn't have the bare essentials. We really didn't have anything at all. So, I grew up remembering not having anything in the house to eat but water in the refrigerator. Plastic on the windows, no heat, no electricity, things of that nature. So when I began to grow and started to see the criminal activity was beneficial, then, that would lead me to the streets, because I felt like that anything that I could do to aid and assist my family economically, taking the economic burden and the stress and the strain off of my mother, I was willing to do it. So I was willing to jeopardize life and limb, to try to release my mother of certain pain and stress and anxiety of providing for 3 children by herself.
So you said 3 children. What was you and 2 brothers, you and 2 sisters? How was it?
It was me, my sister, and my brother. And we all had the same father.
And you youngest?
I'm the youngest.
So your mother, I'm assuming your mother, she was working and trying to figure it out for y'all. And how about your father?
No, well, first and foremost, I got to say this. My mother wasn't working. I want to jump ahead a little bit, but when the first time my mother ever had a job, I was already 18 years old, going upstate for 16 armed robberies and attempted murder against a cop. So the first time that I ever saw, I never saw her work. So that was one of the things that led me to the streets. Because like I said, some people jumped out of there because they wanted to be a follower. Some people wanted to join their friends in criminal activity with the criminal mindset and having the luxuries of life, by criminal means. But me, I really went out there because I had to. My mother didn't get her first job until I was already sitting in prison.
Wow.
Facing 50 years.
18 years old. Wow.
17. I went upstate at 18. I committed the crime at 17.
So let's get back to your father. So your father, was your father around when you was young, juvenile? How was that for you? Your relationship with your father?
Well, I didn't really have a relationship with my father. I don't remember him at all. He was murdered by one of his closest friends at when I was 1 year old.
Mm.
So
Wow.
we didn't have any male support, any type of male structure, any type of male guidance or anything of that nature. So we were just winging it
Wow.
as children.
So just speaking about that, your father was murdered by his best friend. Do you know why his friend murdered him?
Well, yeah, I do know. A relative of mine, which was my aunt,
Mm-hmm.
she ended up stealing something from this brother, allegedly. This what he told me after I met him years down the line, right?
Mm-hmm.
And allegedly, my aunt stole something from him, which was a bicycle, and on the back of that bicycle was a pouch, and in that pouch it was a 357 and some dope, and he wanted his gun back. He said, "I don't really care about the drugs. I just need my gun."
Mm.
And she kept telling him that she wasn't giving the gun back. She don't know what he's talking about. He said, "Listen, man, I know you had my bike. You stole my bike. You stole my pouch. I don't care about the dope. All I want is my gun."
Mm.
And that led them to have a very hot and pugnacious exchange, if you will.
Mm.
And she in turn started bringing up my father and bringing him into the equation, and told him that my father would do X, Y, and Z to him.
Mm.
And the moment that he saw my father, he acted first.
Mm.
These are his words.
Wow.
You understand what I'm saying? So, he got my father before my father could get him.
Mm. So let's rewind a little bit too, because I know it's a story behind that and what happened with that, but we'll get to that. But so at 11 years old, you started breaking law. When did you catch your first case?
I caught my first case, I think I was about 13.
Mm. Could you do me a favor? Could you describe like Philly, like in the early 90s for yourself down in Logan section and the late 80s, early 90s? How was that area back then? Was it?
It was extremely violent. It was extremely volatile. Everybody, 8 to 10 years and older, we had a criminal mentality. It's like everybody was thieves. Everybody was robbing, shooting, murdering, killing. We all had a sadistic and barbaric mindset.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? When I try to explain and express to people what we went through in the 80s and the 90s, it kind of resembled what most people know as Paid in Full, the movie. You know what I mean? The crack epidemic at its full blossoming. We jumping in the game. 11 years old, we got a block doing 80,000 a day. You got a block around the corner doing 100,000 a day. So everybody had this capitalistic mindset. You know what I mean? Capitalism is a mindset that perpetuates greed, animosity, hatred, division, and we all had this mindset. We didn't really care if we sold crack to our aunties, to our uncles, to our mothers. This is the mindset that we had because we thought that the almighty dollar was essential and key to our mental and psychological and emotional happiness. But in all actuality, it wasn't. It was an illusion. It was a figment of our imagination.
Wow. Tawfiq, could you maximize the chat? It's not maximized. So, so you got, all this stuff going on around that time, like you mentioned in the 80s. You mentioned that, it's real volatile, a lot of drugs in the area. People are just, going crazy, beefing or whatever the case may be. Now, with all that mixed in, and now you're out here in the streets trying to figure it out. What was the first time, or when was the first time you was arrested for a crime?
The first time that I was arrested for a crime was probably I was 12 for robbery.
Wow.
Majority of my crimes that I committed either had something to do with attempted murders or robberies.
So describe, if you could, for 12 years old on a robbery. What was going on? If you can talk about that, what happened at that time?
Well, me and my brother and a few comrades of mine, we were just known to rob everybody in the city. I don't care if it was a resident. I don't care if it was a store. I don't care if it was a person, a crack game. We just had such a vicious and insidious mindset. Like anybody can get it. And this is why I know and understand what these youth is going through today. And this is why I don't really look at them in a condescending fashion, because I am nothing but a mere reflection of who they are. You know what I mean? I tell people all the time that if you condescending looking down to the so-called proverbial young nigga, then they ain't nothing but an extension of the old nigga. So anytime that you look at them and condescend looking at them, it's like us looking in the mirror.
Wow. It's a hell of an analogy, man, because I gotta accept that as the truth. Because they're coming from a part of a generation before them. So just an extended version. Well, it is just a cycle that's going to repeat itself. Now you got, this first charge. I was saying, what was it? Like, what happened? Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, we ran up on a group of people who was selling drugs, and at this time I think it was like 12, and we pulled out our guns, laid everybody down. Typical hood stuff.
How does somebody 12 years old get a gun? Like, y'all have multiple guns. How does someone that young? Because there's a lot of ways to get a gun, but how were y'all able to obtain these firearms?
The old heads in our community, the same ones that wanted us to police the block when the blocks was doing 60, 70, 80, and 90,000 a day. These are the same old heads who had me going on a run for bricks of cocaine at 12 years old. I'm getting the car. We're going to go pick this brick up. We get pulled over. This is yours. And, at that time, I didn't look at that as manipulative tactics. I looked at things like this as essential, as part of earning your bones, earning your keep, but not realizing that they was utilizing my youth as a means of building and establishing their empire. So in all actuality, they really wasn't my old heads. These were people that was manipulating my emotions, knowing and understanding my financial stress and strain, and they manipulated my emotions in the sense that they made my loyalty and my dedication and devoted to them and their cause, which was to plague the community with drugs and crime. And I was a part of that. I was part of that pandemic.
Wow. At 12 years old.
At 12 years old.
And how did the police catch you? What happened with that?
Man, we ain't even get far. We got about a block and a half away and cops was everywhere. So we laid these people down. We took their jewelry. We took their money. We took everything that they owned. And we didn't even make it 2-3 blocks away before 30, 40 cops pulled up officers from the 35th district.
Now, at that time, this was your first case. Now, how much time did you do behind this case?
I ended up doing, I got sentenced to 1 year, but because I was cantankerous and combative and rebellious, I turned that 1 year into 2 years because I went from doing 1 year, and I ended up trying to escape with me and 2 other comrades. My brother and another comrade from 24th Indiana. We ended up trying to escape from Slayton Farms, and we got captured. And from there, they ended up sending me back to the Youth Study Center, sent me back to St. Gabriel Hall, and then from St. Gabriel Hall, they sent me to Vision Quest.
Now, at this time, we see a lot of these commercials going on, a lot of these juvenile facilities where these kids were being, beaten unjustly and basically just harmed in every way, form, or fashion. Did you experience any of that as a juvenile back then at that time?
I definitely did. Yeah, I definitely did, especially when I was up on Vision Quest. They was extremely volatile, extremely aggressive. Within my first 3 days there, they damn near broke my arms and my legs.
Dang, and why?
Because they was talking to me aggressively, and you was supposed to be obedient to them and their authority, and they wanted me to have my hands placed down to my side. And I didn't know that if you make any false move, that was considered an act of aggression.
Wow.
And any act of aggression towards their authority, they approached that threat with supreme aggression.
Severe.
He always say a thing called touch for attention.
It's called nonverbal. If you show any type of nonverbals or anything like that, nonverbal is if you tell me to do something, it's a nonverbal. Let's get your ass whooped.
Exactly.
They ain't playing none of that. It's basically like the military.
Wow.
Yeah, all that. Yo, look up. Ain't no everything is yes, no, and excuse me.
That's right.
All that, anything outside of that parameter, inside that penal system is like KD just said, is attacked with a severe aggression.
Wow.
They breaking it out of you from the drive. They breaking that buck from the drive.
So KD, you said you did a year, right?
I ended up doing a year of Slayton Farms, but like I said, we tried to escape and we were captured, and that led me to do an additional year. So I ended up doing 2 years in total for that same crime.
Did you have any support from your family, your mother, while you was in there?
At that time, I did.
So you get out 2 years later, was you about maybe like 14, 15 years old?
Yes.
How fast did you get back to being robbing and
I think probably the next day.
The next day?
I was the worst kind of person that you would ever want to meet.
Why you say that?
Day. Because, I ain't had no pics. Anybody that know me from back then, even to now, I had anger issues. I had, emotional problems, psychological problems. You understand? Being poor traumatized me in a way that it made me detached from my true emotional feelings. So I had no empathy. I had no human feelings whatsoever. So if I wanted something from you and if you denied it, I'm shooting you. Even if you gave it to me sometimes, I shot you this just because I knew I'd get away with it. So when I came home from that crime, I was probably right back in the streets within 24 hours.
Wow. So you back at it and back robbing, and how long before you went back to prison?
I think 90 days.
90 days. And what'd you go back for?
I went back for kidnapping and carjacking.
Can you talk about that situation? What happened?
Well, and this is something that probably one of the only crimes that I was probably innocent of.
Wow.
One of my friends kidnapped, carjacked, and robbed the individual. And being young at that time, when you see your friend coming around a block with a new vehicle, the first thing you say is, "Yo, let me take that car around the block. Let me drive that joint around the block, man."
What kind of car was it?
It was I can't even remember, man. That was in '94. I can't remember. I'll be lying if I told you to make the model.
And was this a male or female that was kidnapped?
It was a male.
Okay. So, all right, what happened? So he came over with the car?
So he came up with the car. I get in the car. I'm trying to call around the block, not knowing that there was a body in the trunk.
Dead body?
No, not a dead body.
Oh, but just a body?
But a body.
Mm.
Yeah. So I get pulled over by the cops.
Is this summertime or wintertime?
It was like right after summer, so I say around like October.
Wow.
Like October.
So go ahead. What happened?
So I get pulled over, and lo and behold, somebody tied up in the trunk. And being as though I wasn't one of the kind of people that betray my friends, or betray the principles and the credence of the game. I took that on the chin.
How old was your friend who actually did it?
I think he was about, if I was like 15, he was about like 17.
Wow.
18.
And this person was in the car. You didn't hear him making no noise or nothing?
No.
And how long was they in the trunk for?
I probably drove that car for about 4 or 5 blocks.
Oh, 4 or 5 blocks?
4 or 5 blocks. I got pulled over on 5th and Alany. Almost in the exact location where I caught the other 5 armed robberies with my brother back in like 92. So almost in the same exact spot.
Wow. So the cops pull you over, and did the person in the trunk start kicking, making noise? What happened?
Once they start searching the car, because I was a minor, and I'm driving the vehicle, and they start searching the car and ran across him, and he started talking about I was the man that robbed him, I was the man that kidnapped him, and things of that nature. And lo and behold, the handcuffs went on.
Wow.
And I got certified as an adult.
And how much time did you do in a juvenile placement before you went to adult facility?
They took me to the youth study center to certify me as an adult, and they offered me 40 years.
Wow.
40 years for that crime.
40 years.
40 years. And I ended up turning like 16 while I was fighting that case.
Wow. So what was going through your mind? Did you really understand the magnitude of 40 years?
I think I did, but I just knew that I wasn't raised and reared to turn against the principles of the game. I knew that it came with consequences because it was more severe things that I was doing besides that.
Yeah.
So that was minute and trivial to me at the time. A kidnapping or a carjacking, that was nothing. I just knew that came with the game, and I was willing to accept the responsibility of my actions.
Wow. And now you're certified as an adult, 16. Did you go to trial or take a deal with this case?
I was going to trial. They kept coming to me for 40 years, 40 years, 40 years, 40 years. And then they came down to like 30, right? I still wouldn't take it. And back at this time, they had a thing called Rule 1100, right? When the person don't show up in court in 120 days, they dismissed the case.
Yeah.
He didn't show.
Wow.
And that's how I ended up getting back to the streets.
And so how old were you when you got released?
I got released, I think, when I was 17.
And once again, how fast was it before you got right back to doing what you was doing?
I ended up robbing, I could be frank, but I ended up robbing a Dunkin' Donuts the same day I got out so I could buy a car.
Wow.
So the same day.
How did you get a firearm that fast? Like the same way? Just
I bought that firearm, I think, for like $50. It was a 38.
38 special.
38 special. Bought it for like $50.
And so describe for us, like going like that. How did you plan that out? How did you just make it up in your mind about to rob a Dunkin' Donuts?
And I told you, I grew up, I was one of the most reckless young boys that you'll ever meet. It wasn't even a plan. I'm going in here, I want the money. If they refuse to give me the money, I'm shooting. It was just clear cut, dry as that. But we're so peculiar about it now that I look back in retrospect and I look at how reckless and insidious and diabolical I was. I was still getting high. That's first and foremost. I was
Getting
drinking,
off what?
drinking syrup, popping pills, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this side actually happened. One of my female friends asked me to take her daughter with me to the store. And me and her daughter, which probably was about 3 years old at the time, and I had one of my homies with me named CJ. And we go in there, we really wanted to get us some hot chocolate, drink some tea, whatever the case may be, to boost our high, whatever. We coming from J Street.
Yeah.
We go up in there, and once I saw how much money was in that cash register, I jumped across the counter and laid everybody down.
With the girl, little girl with y'all?
I forgot that fast that she was with me.
Dang.
So I go in there, I lay everybody down, I take all the money, I run out the store, I get like a half a block down, and some girl that knew me, she said, "Ain't that what's her name, daughter? Ain't she with y'all?" I said, "Oh yeah, that's right." She said, "Well, you better go back and get her. You left her in the store." So I said, "Yo, I'll give you $300. You go back and get her for me."
Mm.
And she went back and retrieved her while I kept on going about my business.
Wow. And the cops they know anything about the little girl being with you at the time or no?
I got away with that crime.
Mm. Wow.
I actually got away with that crime.
Describe for like people out there, the listeners and the viewers who don't know, what kind of rush do you get from it? Or you just straight, it's no rush, it's just normal activity for you?
Yeah, it was just normal activity. But I think I got a rush from it because, like I said, if I want it, I'm taking it. And I love the fact that I can just do what I want.
Mm.
I was intoxicated off of making other people fear me, watching them tremble, watching them have trepidation, watching them have fear when I walked through or drove through. It was a high.
Mm.
It was a high. But I think now when I look at it back from an intelligent point of view, from an intellectual point of view, I think it was just me suffering from an identity crisis.
Mm.
You know, I look at it now, we wanted to be important. We wanted to be seen. We wanted to be felt. And the only way that I knew how to do that was to commit a crime.
Mm.
If I had a gift and a talent, or if I was aware of my gifts and talents at that time, I'm pretty sure that my life would have turned out a lot different. But because that's what gave me recognition, that's what gave me power. That's what I continue to do because everybody recognized me for my talent of brute force, brutality, mayhem, bloodshed.
Mm.
And that's all I knew.
So you come up in the neighborhood and people knew when they seen you, like it was just automatic, you know, anything can happen at any moment when I come around.
Sometimes I used to walk on one side of the street and everybody go on the other side of the street. Mind you, I'm a kid. I ain't even 18 yet. Sometimes I wasn't even 14, 15 yet.
Mm.
But I grew up, like I said, we was shooting them guns very, very early. Very early. And this is why I can identify with the wayward youth today. The people that's what we call to be the demons and the savages. Well, you know, I was a savage. I was a demon because anybody who's a demon and savage, a person who lost their cultural identity, their political identity, you know what I mean, they sense of self, they sense of purpose, their self-worth, that was me.
Mm.
That's why I can really identify with them. I identify with them 110%.
Wow. Wow. So you get away with that situation in the Dunkin' Donuts. How was life after that? What was going on? I mean, I'm assuming it was the same old program. And what led you to the next arrest? What happened then?
Well, the next arrest, we end up, you know, like I said, man, it's like I didn't even know how to turn it off at this point. This is what I knew. I've done this every day. Anybody that know me or watch this segment, they say, that's him. He ain't lying.
Mm.
We robbed about 10, 20, 30 people a day. This is what I did religiously.
Was this like hopping out of the car, walking down the street?
Sometimes it's walking down the street. Sometimes hopping out of the car. Sometimes it's robbing a supermarket. Sometimes it's robbing a cash place. Sometimes it's robbing a jewelry store. Sometimes it was a crap game. I just did what I felt like doing when I felt like doing it.
If you can talk about it, like how much money is that per day? Like normally, like doing something like that, how much was you making per day? Like living that type of lifestyle of robbing 10, 20 people a day?
Well, you know, you can network. I mean, depending if you got your squad with you, and it might be 4 or 5 of y'all. Y'all might network about 4,000 or 5,000 a day. But you got to remember, at this time, we adolescents. We 12, 13, 14 years old. We driving cars, wearing Rolexes, wearing Gators. You know, so it seemed like a lot of money to us at the time. But even though we had a block doing 80, 90, 100,000 a day, we wasn't We wasn't interested in that money. We was interested in the adrenaline rush, that fear, that power.
So did the people that was on the block making that type of money, what did they fear that y'all would do something to them?
I'm pretty sure they did. Definitely. Our squad was a vicious squad. We was a vicious squad. At that time, and in those days, we was called the lowlifes.
So I'm assuming those people who had those drug blocks, they had fear. So I'm assuming that if y'all came to them for some money, they would just give it to you. Like, here you go.
Of course, money at that time wasn't even. Money was no money at that time because you could make $1,000 every 15 minutes. So I come up in the area when people was betting cars, betting houses, betting deeds. Like 10,000 was nothing. You could make that in 15, 20 minutes.
And dice games.
Yes.
What's the biggest dice game you robbed? You see you robbed dice game before. What's the biggest dice game you robbed? And where was it at?
Well, down North Philadelphia, Puerto Rican Lane, about 9,500. But a lot of jewelry.
What happened that day? You was there gambling and decided just...
I never gambled a day in my life. I just, I just jump out on anybody's strip, whether it was 7th Pike, whether it was 8th and Cayuga, whether it was Waterloo Street. We knew all the major strips, J Street, everybody who had a block doing 80, 90,000 a day, we knew where they were at. Even at 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 years old.
And describe for me, you can, like, because a lot of people understand that, people get robbed and stuff like that. What happens, like if you robbing somebody, what are you looking for? What is an all tell sign that they scared out, they scared to death?
I ain't care if they wasn't scared. I would just look at you, if you wasn't scared, you crazy. Because I'm going to shoot you. I'm going to shoot. I done shot over 20 people in my lifetime. I'm going to shoot you. I didn't have no fear. I didn't have no humanity. My humanity was lost. I had no sense of cultural awareness. I had no identity whatsoever, man, outside of criminality.
Wow.
I didn't even love myself, so I didn't care about nothing and no one else. And the people that was around me facilitated those emotional feelings because they had those same kind of feelings. Now, I think I was a little worse off because, I'm running and gunning. I had some dudes, maybe they just was robbery boys. Some people was pickpocket boys. Some boys was smashing and grab boys. I ain't had no lane. If I want to get up and shoot you, I'm going to shoot you today. I'm going to kidnap you tomorrow. I'm going to sell drugs the day after that. I'm going to carjack somebody 3 days after that. I ain't have no lane. And that's what made me unpredictable.
So what goes into what makes you determine that I'm gonna shoot somebody? Like if you in the middle of robbery, what happens to me? I'll make you want to shoot them. Because
I don't know, man. Like this was so crazy, right? And this was almost what made it hard for me to make parole. Because I was unable to really process emotionally, psychologically, and intelligently, why did I do the things that I did? Besides the look that I got from popping them, making them fear me. It was an adrenaline, it was a high. So you didn't have to move. You know how they say, well, he moved wrong. You didn't even have to move wrong. Well, I felt like, man, I'm going to shoot you because I know I'm going to get away. That's why I did it, because I know I'm going to get away with it.
What are some of the reactions of some of these victims who were shot? Like, what are some of the reactions that you can remember for someone who got shot, or the most, I'll say the reaction that you remember the most?
Them begging and pleading to me not to kill them. Just screaming for their life. Just take it. But it wasn't about me wanting what you have. I just want your life, and that's what I felt like doing.
So that you just gave you power, I'm like.
It was a sickness, man. When I look at it now from an adult point of view, and looking at it from, in retrospect, man, I was sick. You know what I mean? That's why I know that criminality is a sickness, just like drug. They say it's a sickness, it's a disease, and it's illness, it's neurosis of the mind. I truly concur with that because I was sick. I was sick, man. I was sick, and of course, the residue was still there because the bulk of my life was spent in jail. And when I was there, anybody that knew me from there know that, man, he ain't gonna be here long. I go into a jail, they say, man, he ain't gonna be here long. 6 months, 3 months, 5 months. I'm cracking somebody in the head. I'm stabbing somebody. I'm on to the next. And it's the same kind of behavior that I had on the streets. I didn't go to the jail and change and metamorph to somebody different because I didn't have a gun. I was angry. And I didn't really know how to deal with my emotions. I didn't really know how to psychologically process where my illness came from. That came on later down the line when I started doing introspection and self-reflection, looking deep within my mind and being honest with my findings.
Wow. So let's go back to your arrest that led you to doing state time? Because that was like right after that what we were just talking about. So what happened? I'm sorry. Well, they didn't come to court for the car, but then you got locked up again
I got locked up again.
after the Dunkin' Donuts incident. What happened?
We was robbing everybody again. We probably robbed about 30 people that night, and they was calling us in the paper the Grace Ferry to Mount Airy robbers. We robbing from Grace Ferry to Mount Airy. Just riding around, robbing stores, robbing people. No regards for humanity, no regards for people, property, nothing.
So police is looking for y'all now, basically.
They looking for us all that night, but we didn't know. I was 17 at the time, and my co-defendants, 2 of them was 16, and one was like 31.
They still alive, the Coldies?
Well, 3 of my Coldies is dead, and me and my cousin is the only ones that's still alive.
I'll go back to them and ask about them. So y'all committing these robberies, and the police is looking for y'all, but you didn't know that they was looking for y'all.
We never knew.
So how did they catch up to y'all, and what happened?
We ended up driving around in Cecil B. Moore. We was actually going somewhere else. In fact, we was going down J Street to get our drugs of choice at that time. We thought everything was over. We robbed everybody. We got a trunk full of money. We got a pocket full of cash. We got jewelry everywhere. We oblivious to the fact that we being pursued. And that's why I say, when you are young and unintelligent at that time, you are not even really understanding the full ramifications of your actions. Like, we were just driving around like nothing going on. Like, we just didn't rob about 30 people. You understand what I'm saying? We was that detached from reality.
Wow. So what happened? How did the cops catch up to y'all? What happened?
We on Cecil B. Moore on our way to J Street, gonna go pick up serpent pills. And they pulled over. They pulled us over about 20 deep. Blitzed the car. We driving around.
I ain't trying to run nothing there. That.
And they had about 30 guns pointed at us. I'm pointing the gun at the cops.
You pointing the gun at the cop? They ain't shoot?
No. I done that. That's later on that line, but that's why I think I'm really here for a true purpose, because I done that several times and I ain't get killed.
So what goes into the mindset that make you want to aim a gun at the cops? And normally that's over. You do that.
Yeah, exactly. I ain't care about my life. I ain't even really value my life. So I didn't really care. But then, you got to look at it in retrospect and say, damn, even though I didn't care about my life, what about my cousin? What about my other friends? What about the decision that I'm making they not willing to live with? But you don't think like that. You don't process that at the time. The only thing you thinking about is being put out your misery. So sometimes some of us could be subconsciously suicidal. And I tell people that all the time.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Subconsciously suicidal.
Wow.
I tell people that all the time. Even the way that you live your life, the drugs that you use, and the way that you eat, the way that you treat yourself is suicidal lifestyle. Living in this game that we call a game is really a trap. We are suicidal. It's a suicidal lifestyle.
Yeah, I agree.
Wholeheartedly, I agree.
So the cops catch y'all right there. Money, guns, jewelry, all that right there on the spot. You said over 20 victims that said that y'all robbed them.
Yeah.
So from there, y'all go to trial and fight these cases?
Yes. Before we go to trial, they offered us 50 years. Then they offered us 40. Then they offered us 30. One of my co-defendants, which is still living and breathing today, he's still on parole from that crime. He took an 8 to 40.
Wow.
He was 16 or 17. Was 16 we got booked. By the time we went to trial, or whatever the case may be, he was 17. So you don't even really understand the rule, the full ramifications of your act. So he took 8 to 40, not realizing and understanding that 40 years was 40 years.
Let me ask you a question. What jail was it? Holmesburg back then?
We went to CF at the time, because this was
CF was around at the time.
This was February 2nd, 1996.
This one just opened. Damn near.
Yeah, exactly.
That's when it opened up. It opened up in 96. CF did.
Yes, in the summer.
And you got there, what, the end of the summer, October?
I got there in February 2nd. February 2nd.
So now y'all facing these crimes. Let's talk about the CF at the time. How was it back then, CF? Was it violent at the time?
It was extremely violent. They had paddy wagons up there like every 3 to 4 days for somebody getting stabbed or maimed or almost murdered. It was extremely volatile. And let me say this in relation to that. Remember, I was 17. I lied about my age. I used my brother's birth date, and I used his first name, and I used somebody else's last name, and I scraped my fingerprints off. And I told him I was 18 because I didn't want to go back to the youth study center. So I was 17 years old in an adult jail. Just because I didn't want to go back to a juvenile facility.
Wow. So you see, scrape your fingerprints off. What you mean? You took the skin off your fingerprint?
Yeah, with a razor blade. Yeah.
Off all 5 fingers?
Yes.
On both hands?
Yes. So the whole time I did, I was end up serving 12 years on that crime, and I was under a whole nother name the whole time.
And what kind of pain is that, man? You know, I got just thinking about that. To take your fingertips off.
Excruciating. Excruciating.
And what? So you just did that because you didn't want to go
I didn't want
back to a juvenile facility.
That's the thing that we used to do when we was committing crimes. If we did that, or we always had a pocket full of crazy glue.
Mm-hmm.
And we used to pick crazy glue on our fingerprints. Like we was doing that since we was 10, 11, 12 years old, doing smash and grabs, running out of jewelry stores with jewelry, robbing supermarkets, robbing cash places. Like this is, we know we really had a real criminal sadistic mentality at 10, 11, 12, 13 years old.
Mm.
Like we thought like adults. You couldn't tell us nothing.
Wow. And did you ever get stabbed or have to stab anybody in the CFCF when you was in there?
No. But I did end up fighting about 5 people, 6 people at one time because I chose to rob somebody's cell.
What you mean, walk in there and take their stuff out of there?
Somebody had a lot of groceries in their cell at the time. And, you know, like I said, I didn't have no regards and no fear. And this was somebody that was from Uptown, big time drug dealer, won't say his name. And, you know, a lot of people had a lot of love and respect and admiration for this brother. And, you know, he even took me in.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Because I was 17. They took me under their wing. But, you know, he went up to the yard to play basketball, man. And I allowed somebody to manipulate my emotions and say, yo, man, you know, he trust me. Why don't you go ahead and rob the cell? You know where everything at. And I went and they robbed that man, and he found out.
So he wasn't turkey. He said, let me.
No, he wasn't no turkey.
Yeah. Wow. So now you're fighting this case, 20, how many robberies was it again?
They started with about 20, but they was 30, but they got us with 20, and then it ended up getting knocked down to about 16.
And how was that trial at that time? Was it like a long trial or?
A lot of us started copping out because they had too much against us. We had 2 co-defendants that ended up telling. Both of them is dead now, but both of them started telling.
How did they die?
One died from an overdose, and one died about 2 years ago when somebody was murdering somebody else on 11th and Loud, and he was standing by the person. They murdered him at the same time.
Dang. Wow. All right, so let's get to the trial. People come. I'm assuming trial is you know something. This trial is, I believe, it's kind of daunting and probably made you feel defeated because people coming to court now. Did you have a lawyer or you had the public defender?
I had a public defender at the time. Like I said, we was poor, broke, naked, and outdoors.
Poor, broken, and naked and outdoors. Wow.
I didn't even have, my mother didn't even come to support me at that time. Like, you know, I had no support. Nobody came. Because you got to realize, understand, but I look at it like this now, though, when I thought that it was abandonment and betrayal. But you got to look at it like this, man. People get tired of you coming to jail. How many more times do you want them to come to court? I was in and out of jail my entire life.
Yeah.
I was criminal minded. Like everybody, I'm telling you, I'm committing 30 to 40 robberies every day. Every day. So how much more do you want your mom to jeopardize her job or to jeopardize her peace of mind? And
you said now that's what you said. This is her first time having a job at this age, 18 years old.
When I went to prison, that was the first time she ever had a job.
So what deal did they offer you?
They offered the multiple deals. They went from 50, 40, 30. You know, and like I said, you know, they had so much evidence against us because the evidence was in the trunk of the car.
Exactly.
And you had all of the witnesses coming in. It was some, for exceptional people that knew who we were, and we didn't even know that we robbed so many people that we ended up robbing people that we went to school with that we didn't even recognize at the time, but they was in fear because they knew what type of people we were, especially me. So some of them stopped coming to court. That's how it went from 30 all the way down to 20 and then down to 16 because they already knew that if they was to show up to court and if I was to get out of jail, then it was going to be a problem.
Yeah, for sure. So what happened with that case? You ended up taking a deal or you?
I ended up taking a deal. I took a 6-12. My cousin, which was one of my closest comrades at the time, he ended up taking an 8-40. So he's still on parole since 1996 to this day.
From that same case.
From that same case.
How much time they did in jail off that case? 8 years or did more than that?
I did 7. My cousin did 9.
Wow.
And the rat dudes, he did about 2.
So your co-D's was telling on that case?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Now, you get sentenced. Back now in CFCF, when you lose in trial, they send you to a different block and then they wait for the bus to come get you and take you upstate. Was it the same way back then?
Yeah, but when I first got incarcerated and isolated and secluded and confined for these particular crimes, my bail was so high, they took me from CFCF to the House of Corrections and they placed me in a hole because they asked me, they be like, well, how many people did you kill? I said, why did you say that? My bail at 17 years old was 1.3 million. So they held me in isolation and seclusion. And the thing about it, that I didn't really know anything about prison at the time because when they put me in isolation, I just thought that was normal. I thought jail was you locked down 23 hours a day. You know, when you're looking at it from a commercialized point of view, you don't really understand it from a experience. So when I'm locked down in a hole, I'm wondering, I'm like, all right, well, maybe this is where I'm gonna spend the rest of my life. But I didn't know that a brother came to my cell. He's like, yo, he's like, something like a brother doing Ramadan. Like, something like, bro. Like, Sam, he said, you fasting? I said, he said, you get your sword back and all? I said, yes, sir. He said, why you ain't come out? I said, what you mean? He said, why you ain't come out for your hour? I said, I ain't know I was supposed to come out. And he said, man, how old are you? And I said, I'm 17. He said, you 17? I was like, yeah. So he said, do you know why you in a hole? I said, I'm in a hole. I didn't even know I was in a hole. This is how naive I was about doing time. I didn't know I was in a hole, and I was back there for about 2 weeks. He said, what kind of infraction did you commit? A DC one? He said, you don't know what a write-up? I said, I ain't getting no write-up. He said, you didn't do nothing? You wasn't argumentative with the guards and anybody in authority? I said, no. So they went and got a deputy. The deputy went and got the warrant and said, why is this guy in a hole? And they found out about 2 days later that I was in a hole based upon my bail. My bail was 1.3 million. So they said they had to hold me in the House of Corrections until Pitt came and got me. And that's how I ended up over Pitt, and I went upstate.
How was Pick back then?
Extremely violent. It was the most violent place besides CFCF.
Yeah, they had women over there at the time, I believe, right?
Yes, they did.
Wow. So you coming into, was there ever a time in jail, like especially in the county jails, that you were kind of scared or no?
I had a name. Even at 17, I was like I said, I started out crime at 11 years old. So everybody knew me.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Everybody knew me. You got to realize and understand, when you run in them type of circles and you being sadistic, diabolical, and criminal-minded, everybody that you was in juvenile facility with you end up being in adult prison with you as well, because we all threw our life away in the same fashion. So they be like, that's KD right there. Oh, that's KD? So even if they didn't know the face, they knew me through the crimes that I committed.
Wow. So now you get sentenced, you take that time. That was, what was it? 8 to
6 to 12.
6 to 12, okay. So now you get ready to go upstate. Where you go? What was the first jail you went to upstate?
Camp Hill, which was one of the worst moments of my life.
You didn't go to the Fort?
I went to the Fort. I stayed down the Fort for about 2 weeks, and then they sent me to Camp Hill.
How was it pulling up to the Fort? Everybody said that wall was so intimidating. How was it for you being that young?
One of the things that gave me a sense of awareness of what type of environment that I was in, that manufactured environment was so volatile that when you came through, they asked you where you want your body sent. And I'm like, what do you mean? And you know, me being immature at that time, intellectually immature, I didn't even really understand why he was asking me where I want my body sent. I said, what do you mean where I want my body sent? He said, just in case something happened to you, where do you want your body sent? And me not knowing how to react and respond to that line of question, I said, man, send it home. He said, you want us to send a dead body home to your mother? I ain't even know what else to say. I was so intellectually immature at the time, I didn't even realize what he was really asking me, how dangerous the environment was that I was in. I was naive.
Make sure y'all hit that like button, y'all. If y'all like what y'all hearing, hit that like button, please. So you got up to the Fort, and they told you, actually, where you want your body sent, that you said, send it home.
Right.
Because you didn't understand. Now, 2 weeks in the Fort, did you ever make it a population?
I ain't never, they were trying to they asked me did I want to take PC, because I was so young. And mind you, they thought I was 18 already, but remember I told them that I was born in 77, but I really was born in 78. So they thought I was 19. I was just turning 18. But they was asking me, did I want to be placed in isolation? And I was like, no. They said, you don't want to go to PC? I said, no. They said, you sure? You positive? I said, I'm positive. They said, sign this paper. So you had to sign a paper to say if anything happened to you, that the jail is not responsible for whatever transpires.
Wow. So you get the population. Well, how was that for you?
It was a little bit of trepidation, because now I realized that I wasn't going to be around my family for X amount of years. So the loneliness and the depression set in. But then on the sick flip side of that, it seemed like a badge of honor, because all we heard about was greatest for growing up. So it felt like that I accomplished something.
I heard that. Just hear about jail so much that you feel like you make it there, like I accomplished, I have arrived.
Yes. Exactly how we felt.
Wow. And it's like almost like a badge of honor.
It was like a badge of honor. And the crazy thing about it, because remember early on when I told you that I robbed Dunkin' Donuts, and I said that I got away with that crime.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was a dude who ended up getting sent for that crime. I ended up shooting the manager in the back.
Oh, well, you didn't tell me that while you were Dunkin' Donuts?
I ended up shooting the manager in the back. I got away. The brother ended up he took the deal for that crime. Me and him was on the bus going to Greatersford together. We ended up being cellies, and that's how I knew. And then I said, what you doing locked up? And he explained to me where he was at. He's like, I ain't even do it. And I said, man, I hope you don't take it the wrong way. I said, bro, I know you ain't do it. He said, how you know? You don't even know me. I said, no, I did it. And the crazy thing about it, he ended up getting a 3 to 6. He's still in jail right now on that same crime because he ended up catching additional cases and charges. So he's been in jail over 30 years when he only had a 3 to 6.
Dang. So I'm asking you, what made you shoot the manager in the back? What happened? He just was like, man, just take this.
Yeah. Take that while you at it. Why give me the money and take this while you at it.
What did he say when you shot him?
He screamed for his life, don't kill me.
Wow. So now you had the Ford 2 weeks, time for you to go to Camp Hill. How was that for you?
I think that was one of the most traumatizing times of my life. I think that really made me more sadistic and barbaric because when I went there, the cops lied on me first and foremost. They didn't like me because I was very rebellious. I was cantankerous. I wasn't following rules and regulations and policies of the institution. So what they did was they lined me up. They came and got me like 3, 4 in the morning where all these open razors said, these yours. They threw them in my cell, came back with the handcuffs, locked me up, took me to the hole like 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm talking about these were some big white folks. And they had nothing but hatred in their heart for young black men. And what we was doing, we was calling them devils, calling them crackers, calling them racist. And I'm thinking I'm getting away. I'm like, I'm a kid. Ain't nothing they really can do to me. That's how I was thinking. And these people dragged me to that hole 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning with nightsticks taller than me. And they made me put my face. When they got me in that part where they started to strip you out, they put my nose on the wall. And they whispered to me, you better not move your nose off that wall, nigger. And they had one on one side, one on the other, and about 5 behind me. And the nightsticks was taller than me. And they told me to strip and get naked, and I better not take my nose off that wall. So you couldn't back up to bend down and take your shoes off. None of that was going to happen. You keep your fucking nose on that wall and take your clothes off. And don't look back. You look back, we're going to crack your head with this stick. And that's when I knew it was real.
Wow. So what they stripping you for? Just to...
They make sure that we didn't have any drugs or paraphernalia before they took us to the hole.
Listen up, man. And this is still going on today, possibly, in the jails.
Yeah, definitely. You definitely have cases like that. You fucking right.
Wow. So you get to the hole. How much time you did in the hole?
I was supposed to go back there and do 45 days, but like I said, I was rebellious. I was naturally rebellious, and I always gave people the analogy like this. Anybody that went to jail after terrorizing their own community, right, and brutalizing their own citizens, right, and their own communities, right, and then they go in jail, and then all of a sudden you got morals, standards, principles, and guidelines, right, and you have all this spiritual discipline. I didn't look at them type of dudes as real men because you were just out there brutalizing your society, disregarding the feelings of your family, disregarding the teachers, the principals, and the truancy officers, but then you go right to jail, and all of a sudden you're a model citizen. So I looked at myself like a Mustang out the wild. There's no way in the world that you can take a Mustang out the wild, and then all of a sudden you can break him in one day. So I was rebellious. So I went back there with 45 days to do, and I ended up getting sentenced to about a year in the hole.
This guy, we talk about this thing about leaving a honey bun or a cupcake or a cookie or something on your bed. You chimed in on one of the posts said that he said it's not. He said it's a myth, but you said that it's not a myth. It's something that's true.
No, it's not a myth. It probably depends on what generation you went into the prison, what decade you went. But if you went to jail in the 80s and the 90s, it was real. It was extremely real. The thing about it, if you went in your cell and you had something on your bed and you ate it, then you had to compensate them.
What do you mean?
You had to perform some kind of sexual act. And you had people like the diaper mans of the world. I'm pretty sure he's familiar with the kind of people.
A diaper man?
You had people like Akbar. You know what I mean? Brother Akbar.
Who describe what a diaper man is?
Diaper man was a predatorial, sadistic, insidious, and diabolical individual who was predatorial, who preyed on the young and attacked the even younger. He was notorious for raping young juveniles or young adults at that time.
Mm.
And you had a plethora of brothers that was just like him. Very vicious, very conniving, very manipulative. When I was up Pittsburgh, when I got up there after I left Camp Hill, a brother got raped as soon as I got into the jail. They end up, yeah, little brother, I heard you a gangster, man. You from West Philly, right? You a gangster, man. I heard so much about you, man. A lot of people got trepidation and fear. Man, your name is ringing out there, man. I know who you are. I want you to move in the cell with me and run my store. And we kept telling the brother, man, don't go in that cell, man. You don't know all here. All of the younger people stuck together at the time because we knew and understood the vicious environment that we was placed in. It was a manufactured environment where the old always preyed on the young. So we kept trying to tell the brother, he was like 20 at the time and he had double life. We said, don't go in that cell, brother. So he went in the cell, like, no, he know what's up, he know my reputation, I'm gonna go in there with him. He went in the cell with that brother. The brother made him some hooch. And when he made him that hooch, he put Cinequine and all these other sleep sedatives inside of the wine. The brother drank that wine and they tied him up while he was asleep and ended up having sexual intercourse with that brother. So when you had brothers saying, don't take nothing, don't let nobody put nothing on your bed, don't let nobody sit on your bed because of the violation of your manhood, those things was real. I went up top 1996, that was real. That was one of the primary and pivotal conversations that I had with my Uncle Shep, who is still down right now doing 48 years. He do letters. Don't take nothing from nobody. Be careful because when people strap you down and give you Thorazine, like he gave me that pep talk. He got 48 in.
So how was the mentality of this guy who this happened to after the fact? And how did y'all find out?
Oh, he was screaming and begging for his life. He tied him up. They had to come in and untie that brother. They had to take him to the infirmary. He violated him viciously. There was blood everywhere.
Wow. How old was this guy that this happened to?
He was at that time I was 18, so he was about 20.
Wow. He had 2 life sentences, so he's probably still in jail at this time, and this happened to him.
Yes, he's still traumatized. I still ask somebody from time to time, and good little brother. You know what I mean? But yeah, he was never the same after that. He was fractured. He was psychologically broken. He was a talkative person. He was always pugnacious. He was a good communicationist, but after that, he became more introverted.
Wow. And what happened to the guy who did that to him?
They locked him up, and he got back out of another jail and continued to be predatory. He was notorious. Notorious.
What was his name? You know his name?
I ain't gonna say the brother's name because then people gonna attach him to the person that was violated, and I wanna I wanna respect, what happened to him.
So this guy, does he have a life sentence? Who's doing this? He has a long time in jail?
Yes. A lot of them brothers been locked up 50 years, 49 years, like them brothers got time and they still living. Still living.
Do you think this has happened to a lot of these young guys or going to happen to a lot of young guys out here now who are going into the jail systems?
See, but the thing about it is now, though, I think the mentality is a little slightly different. Well, I'm gonna say it's diametrically different. Right? Because you got to realize and understand that, these people in this modern day and time, their mentality is different. They have a weaker docile mentality, which meaning that they emotionally can be manipulated in such a way that they can be manipulated out of their sexual orientation. You understand? You ain't got to brutally take it no more. Like I heard him say, you don't have to take it no more. All you got to do is give them some kind of economic leverage, and they fall for it every time. They don't have a strong sexual identity.
Because they're so young and haven't really experienced anything yet. They haven't really
created and established an identity for themselves. So they still confused. They still confused about their sexual orientation. They still confused about their cultural identity. They still confused about their religious identity. You could be Baptist today and be Muslim tomorrow and even be atheist the next day. They really have no sense of purpose. They really have no sense of direction.
I have seen that multiple times.
But I don't talk about them in a way that trying to make them look worse than they already are. But I'm trying to say it's a reality because in a sense, like I said, my mental neurosis, my mental illness, and my mental disease led me to be a different kind of animal. You know what I mean? I wasn't right, man. You know what I mean? And I'm talking about, man, this was up until I became of age, man. I was brutal. Like I was so brutal. I was so brutal, man. When people went to war with me, man, I'll wait till your birthday and try to kill you on your birthday. Just so every time your mom go to celebrate your birthday, she got to celebrate your death at the same time. These are things that actually happen. I was one of them kind of people that shoot you, and then when you survive, that I get the number to your room and call you and ask you why you were screaming like a little bitch. You understand what I'm saying? And these boys still living. They still living. You understand? But this is the mentality that I had. So when I look at the sickness of the younger generation, I try to identify with them and try to revamp and restructure their mind intellectually and let them know that they can revamp, evolve, And you know what I mean? To transcend their present environment because I was once one of them people.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't look down on them in the sense that everybody else does, man. I identify with their struggle. I identify with their pain and a lack of direction, a lack of purpose. I identify with it because I was lost
Mm-hmm.
for a long time.
Let me ask you a question, Katie. Out of all the time you did in the penal system, right? Do you think the way you are today, prison shaped you into the man you are today?
I want to say.
Oh, let me ask you this, not to cut you off. Do you think jail rehabilitates?
I think you have to rehabilitate yourself because those type of manufactured environments is not there to nurture you or to shape and mold you to become better human beings. That environment that we call the manufactured society was there as a weapon to weaponize against the poor, right? To destroy and fracture your mind, your spirit, your soul, and your life. It's not there to reform you. It's not there to correct you. But what can correct you when you place yourself around people, you know what I mean, that's intellectually sound, that's politically sound, economically sound, spiritually sound, religiously sound. These are the people that lend to you and pour into you and shape and mold you to becoming a higher version of yourself. So it's not the institution itself, but it's the people that you align yourself with that make you a greater entity.
So a lot of times, so that street mentality you had, the vicious street mentality, it was the same thing while you was in jail too.
It was the same thing while I was in jail. Anybody that know me, and I'm pretty sure they're gonna say something in the comments like, he ain't lying. I'm talking about, man, I don't care if I threw you down the steps. I don't care if I stabbed you while you were asleep. I always wanted the edge because I was always a smaller person. I was always in the 130, 140, 150. So and I always studied the 40 laws of power. I always studied Confucius. I always studied the Sun Tzu. So, it says if you cannot choose the battlefield, choose the time. The battlefield with the prison, the time, it was up to me. So I'm gonna wait. If you said something to me that I didn't like, I'm gonna wait till you go to sleep because I wanted the edge. I wanted the leg up on you.
Wow. See, listen, y'all. For everybody out there listening, this is actually real. This is not made up. This is real talk, man. And he has somebody here with him that can vouch for him, man, and everything that he's saying. I'm pretty sure. And I've heard a lot of these stories from a lot of guys in the community who was telling me about this guy KD. So, I'm glad you came on the show to talk. But I have a lot of questions, man. So, having that mentality from the streets going into the prison system and knowing what you're up against after seeing this guy you get rid. How often do you see this happen where people were taken advantage of in that manner?
A lot. A lot of people was taken advantage of sexually, emotionally, psychologically because they are predatory. This would have led me to believe and come to understand that people that is homosexual, right, it's a predatory nature. You know how when they say that when back in the day when you go to jail they say fresh meat? Because somebody new came in, they wanted to break you and shape you and mold you into what they was. They were predatory, right? They manipulated you in the sense that if they saw that you didn't have any some type of economic support, they leaned more into you because they knew that you didn't have any kind of support. So they give you little trinkets, little concessions, and are hoping that they can manipulate you out your manhood.
Wow.
And they did it in so many various ways that it was almost hard to keep up with the count.
Wow. These people who embark upon these paths of of being taken advantage of, they can't. Is no return after that. It's no turning back, really.
No, I would say no. I would never trust them. You know what I mean? This is why, people, man, don't realize and understand that the way that I am is a result of the streets, a result of my upbringing, but also the way that prison shaped and molded me. Because I was one of them kind of people, man, that slept with my boots on. I had people that grew up with me that was in the cell with me say, man, why you got your boots on? You ain't with me. I just sleep with my boots on every day. Shower, boots on. Cell, in the bed, boots on. Like this how I was living. Extremely militant minded, day in and day out.
And it seems like you, how old are you? If you don't mind me asking.
I'm 48 now.
Yeah, it seems like you in tip top shape, man. So I'm assuming you had a crazy workout regimen up there as well.
That's what kept me sane. I think that's what really saved my life because that was therapeutic for me. That and reading and really immersing myself in education is really helped shape and mold the new reality that you see today. But KD's still KD. I ain't gonna tolerate nothing, but I navigate in a way that I stay away from people that I think want to trigger my psychosis. Not that I'm changing, reformed in a way that I won't do to you what I feel like doing, but you have to be a lot smarter in knowing your triggers. And that's why I said doing introspection, self-reflection, looking deep within the crevices of your own minds and being honest with your findings. You have to find out what your triggers are, and when you find out what those triggers are, then you stay away from them, or you refrain from having them in close proximity of you.
Wow. So, let me ask you this. Now, you're in this environment, and, and you see all these things that's going on. Since we're talking about the violent aspect of this, you said instead of choosing the actual place, you choose the time. Well, if you can't choose the place, you choose the time.
Yes.
He has this thing where he talks about this, the knife or the
sock,
the lock and the sock. Which one do you think is more vicious?
I would say, I think he said the sock. I'll go with the sock and the lock, because I saw that cause irreversible brain damage. I done seen people was partially paralyzed.
Mm-hmm.
See, because all they need is that one
Talk
swing.
to him, KD.
That one swing is going to impair you. It's
For
going
the
to
rest of your life.
It's going to impair you in a sense, in a way that it's going to cause you to pause for a second, because it rattles your equilibrium. See, when somebody stabs, you can jump right up, and if they can't fight, you can take that knife. But if that person get that one shot with you and destroy your equilibrium, everything else is curtains.
And this is happening at a all-time high in there. This happened right on the regular.
On the regular. This happened right. I end up doing that to somebody right before I end up coming home. Because it's like, you had to be able to be able to survive that environment.
Mm-hmm.
No matter that you want to be reformed,
Or not.
you want to be, on a dean, you want to be on a hot, you want to be pious.
Yep.
But you got to realize and understand that you live in a manufactured environment. So if you got a manufactured environment, which means that it's put together, you know what I mean, for the ingredients of disaster.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I keep saying a manufactured environment, because it's something that they created. They socially engineered those places. And when they socially engineer those places, they also socially engineer the people. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
This is why they can tell you right now they are social scientists. This is why they can tell you by the year 2031 we're going to need 10 more jails. How do you know that?
Yeah, how the hell do you know that, man?
Because you're going to manipulate the politics of that community. You're going to shut down the school. You're going to shut down the library. Right? You're going to not hire certain classes of people, and that in turn produces crime. And that's why I say, when you look at the wicked and insidious system called capitalism, right, which is a permanent underclass, right? In order for slavery to work or capitalism to work, you have to create and establish a permanent underclass. So if you're creating a permanent underclass, then that means you got to do redlining, blacklining, slave codes, which meaning that you will make a certain class or certain segment of society poor. And when you make people poor, you already can tell how they're going to react and respond to that poverty that you created. So I always ask people this. When the old head told me when I was up top, I said, man, I was a criminal all my life. I was a criminal since I was 11 years old. He said, brother, I never hear you call yourself a criminal. He said, you're a victim that responded to the conditions that the criminals created. Do y'all get that? Mm-hmm. Because if you got a permanent underclass and you become a social scientist, you socially engineering these conditions. Mm-hmm. You socially engineering these conditions.
Like you said, shutting the schools down, no job opportunities. Education is
the libraries, get them out of here.
Yeah.
Recreational centers are shut down.
Yeah, recreational centers.
So you saying what else is it for them to do?
Crime.
You create crime, and then in the way that you create crime, now you can predict how many beds you need to occupy or create or establish. You know what I mean? I said this in one of my quotes, man, in one of my posts, man, when I said that the older gentleman had 18 years in at the time. And, I was running around stabbing everybody, thinking I'm, still gaining praise and accolades throughout the institutions, right? And he said, man, it's two things white folks would never run out of. He said, that's bed space and time. And I said, what you mean? He said, bed space meaning they would never run out of places to put you, and they would never run out of how much time they'll give you. He said, so you stab one person one wrong time, and you'll be spending your life in here with me for the rest of your life. And wow. That was 1997.
Wow. Dang.
You understand what I'm saying? And so, that goes in turn with saying you learn to turn a molehill into a mountain. You take a we used to call it, you turn the 2.5 to 5 into a life sentence. And that goes right back to what I said when the brother got locked up for the crime that I committed, and he ain't been back out yet. Shout out to Boomer. He's still in prison right now. Lost his mind, lost his sexuality. Lost his sense of he's emotionally detached from humanity, and he became a barbaric, sadistic, predatory individual like those people that we was watching out for when we went through.
Is he that way because that's what happened to him, or he just turned into that person?
I think he just turned into that person because of the environment. It nurtured him. It nurtured. You know how they said you're a product of your environment? It nurtured him. And then he started going in and out the holes. He got 20 years for this, 10 years for that, 15 for this. And next thing you know, he got a life sentence. In time, in years.
And I like what you say. You said it nurtured him. Yep. And then that's what jail does to a lot of men. That's the plan. That's the plan in a nutshell, and it's sad.
It's like, I try to tell people, man, like, I gave these people the bulk of my life, man. But majority of my life was spent in prison. Like right now, man, I'm still trying to find a way to navigate the ills of this manufactured society because the bulk of my life was in prison. Like when I came home, I forgot how to drive. I don't even know how to pay a ticket. It's a lot of things that I don't know how to do to this day. And I've been home 16 months. But I'm gradually starting to immerse myself back because you got to realize, understand, remember I said I was home 90 days this time, 60 days that time. You never really live life when you in and out of prison like that.
How much time did it get out of you with that 6 to 12?
They got
because like you said, it can turn into it'll be 30 years if you keep going back.
They end up getting 7 out of me. Well, they end up getting 12 out of me. Actually, they end up getting 12 out of me because I end up getting out and then I end up getting incarcerated 6 months later. So I gave them the whole thing. Because I ended up running into the person that killed my father, which was a whole nother story. And I said, I'm going to do this other 5 because I ran into the guy that killed my dad. So I ain't even going to see parole no more because I already know I'm ready to get this boy. So I chose to do a whole other 5 years.
Wow. So talk about that. So how did you know this guy was the guy who did that to your dad?
Well, actually, I was walking with one of the captains. At the time, I was the minister in the Nation of Islam, and I had somebody that was my captain. He about 350 pounds. He was my captain at the time, and he walked up and he spoke to that brother. He greeted him. Assalamu alaikum, brother. He said, walaikum salam, brother, such and such. And I said, damn, man. I said, he from Uptown? He said, yeah. I said, his last name such. He said, yeah, what, you know him? I said, no, I don't know him, but I heard of him, man. I heard he was a real good boxer back in the day. But what happened was when I went through the wall in 1997, I had just got there, and he left 4 days before I got there. And somebody was like,
the wall, what's the wall?
Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And they be like, the guy that killed your dad just left here, so that's what my cousin was telling me, because my cousin was serving the 10 and 20 at that time, which ended up doing the whole 20 years. But he's like, yo, the boy that killed your dad. Now, mind you, y'all, the dude that killed my father, I never knew he was alive until I came upstate. And back at that time, they gave us 5 jails we can pick from. And my mom wrote me, she said, yo, I'm going to tell you something that I never told you your whole life. He said, I thought the dude that killed my dad was dead this whole time. Mind you, I'm 18 now.
And how old was he?
Who? The dude that killed my father?
Yeah.
They was in his 20s, but he killed him in 1979. This is 1996.
No, I'm saying, how old was it when you ran into him?
When I ran into him, I was about 24.
How old was he?
I don't know. He's probably about 70 right about now.
So I'm saying you was 20. I'm saying when you ran into him and had an incident,
he was just old. He was a couple years old. He was at the same age as dad.
He was in his 50s.
He said he was my dad because I was 1 year old when he killed my father. I was 1.
So he might have been about 56 years old.
Yeah, around that time, yes, sir.
And you didn't care about how old it was?
No, the reason why I didn't really care, well, I'm not gonna care regardless because I still live into the root of the game. It's tit for tat. It's tit for tat. And the same rules and the guidelines and the principles that I adhere to in the streets, I adhere to in jail. Like I said, I never metamorphed to somebody different because I don't have a gun. You understand? You got some people that's killers on the streets that go to jail be a cold turkey. I didn't know how to do that, right? So I ran into this guy. Well, I go to Pittsburgh, and they be like, the guy just left and killed your pop. So one of the comrades that I ran into at the time showed me a picture of him. He said, this the dude right here. So if you ever seen, but you got to be real careful. He a gangster. He a certified killer. So, me being young and punk niggas at that time, I don't give a fuck who he is. When I catch him, it's on. And mind you, that's 1997. I ain't run into him until 2005.
So what happened when you finally ran into him?
2004. Well, I befriended him and walked with him for 8 months. I befriended him, walked with him, talked with him, shared commissary, the whole 9.
Did he ever talk to you about your dad and what happened with?
He didn't know.
Did you ever talk about what got him there, or?
No, we never talked. I didn't even go into that direction because I didn't want him to feel like I was fishing.
Outside of him stabbing your father, even though you had to do what you had to do you think he was a good man?
Yeah, besides him killing my father, shooting my father.
Stab him. No,
I'm sorry, killing your father. Outside of it, getting to know him for 8 months, was he a good man?
I think he was a good brother. But see, the thing about that is not, I wasn't judging him off of who he was then. I'm looking at, I didn't even really do it for my father. I did it for my father, but I really did it more so for my mother. Because the way that I watched my mother navigate, throughout this society, poor, broke, naked, and outdoors, losing her only love. I never had a stepfather. I never had another boyfriend that stepped in and, took care of those responsibilities. So I watched my mother go into a downward spiral. She started trying to find peace and solace at the bottom of a bear bottom. So I started watching her make emotional decisions. She was extremely aggressive against it. She became brutal. emotional, psychological, and physical. You know what I mean, because of the pain and stress and anxiety that was inflicted upon her by losing her man, that aggression trickled down to the children.
So she was beating y'all, and doing all a lot of
Um,
stuff to y'all, and abusing alcohol, so forth and so on.
Exactly. And then, some of the things that I can remember as an adolescent when she said, I hate you, you ain't gonna be nothing but just like your father.
Mm.
You know what I mean? But now when I look back, I understand that hurt people, and I don't judge her on it like I did when I was young because I was unable to intellectually process, what she was going through. But now when I look back, I said, man, she was hurting. She was lost.
Let me ask you a question. Can you talk about the incident, the day that you decided to make your move, as far as getting at this guy who did this to your father?
I was in the yard. I go up Fayette. I got kicked out of Henderson. I go up Fayette in 2004. And so, like I said, I encountered him because I was walking with the brother. He spoke to him, and he was the only person that ever had that name, right? And and I remember from that picture, he wore glasses. He had dreads, and he said that name. I said, "Dang, that's the boy." But I don't tell the person. I don't tell my captain that's who it is because I don't want nobody to talk me out of nothing. No, don't know that's man. You was 1 year old. Let that go. I don't need nobody to talk me out of nothing. Most of the time than not, when somebody say they want to do something, they tell everybody, knowing that everybody gonna talk them off the ledge. So I didn't want that. I didn't want the stress and anxiety of somebody trying to talk me out of something that I know I needed to do, right? Because nobody walked in my shoes. Nobody lived, the life of poverty, hunger, and famine like I did. You understand what I'm saying? I saw my mother, change and go through a grand metamorphosis and became other than herself. So my thing is, it's for my father, but it's more so for my mother because I watched what happened to her. I watched what you did to my mother, indirectly.
Wow.
So, I was walking the yard with Big Hick, rest in peace to Big Hick, and we was going in from the yard, and I said, damn, bro, so you got that knife on you? He said, yeah, it was just a day, like I told you, spontaneous. It wasn't planned. It was just a nice day, and it looked sweet. The yard looked sweet, the police was moving in the way.
Looking sweet, everybody looking sweet.
So I said, damn, I said, Hick, you got that knife on you? He said, yes, sir, brother, what's going on? I said, nothing, brother. He said, what's up, man? We got to move on something? I said, no, brother, just give me the knife. He gave me the knife. I slow walked over here, and I start sticking him. You know what I mean? Start sticking him. He was trying to fight back. I was just pitting it in him. He was trying to fight back. I'm sticking him. He's running a little bit. I'm chasing him down. And he didn't tell, but the person that he was with ended up telling like, yo, it was KD, it was Kareem. It was KD, it was Kareem. It was the FOI, brother. He stabbed him. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he didn't really know what was going on at that time. But once I made it back to the cell, and about 3 minutes later, they come and get me because the person that he was walking with started telling. And they came and got me about 3 minutes later, and me and him got down in the hole. And once we got, acclimated to the hole, he called over to me. You know how it is when you get in that hole. People call, damn, even when y'all fight or have gang wars, y'all start talking after a while.
Yep, you goddamn right. They the only ones you can talk to.
So he said, damn, brother, what was that about? And I said, why are you in jail? And he got quiet. He said, but what was that? I said, brother, why are you in jail? And then he said, let me explain something to you. And then that's when he started letting me know exactly what happened. Because mind you, I'm 20-some years old, and I really never really knew what happened to my father. So he gave me insider information on what transpired, all the intricate details that nobody else told me. Remember, I thought he was dead all the way up until I was 18 years old. I never even knew he was breathing in prison. Never knew he was incarcerated.
Wow. It's just like, it seemed like for you, you come from the city, had, like you said, all these pressures of, broken homes and all these different things. And then you end up pouring out to the streets, turning to, I would say just getting rid of your frustration by robbing, killing, whatever you had to do. And then you go into jail and that mentality still is there. And then what clicked now that you home? Like, I mean, what changed for you? Like, what helped you become, learn how to control everything that's going on?
One of the brothers, when I was locked up, right, and I was running around stabbing people, right? And, like I said, I thought I was gaining a badge of honor. I was getting accolades and praise throughout the prison's industrial complex. And he said, Katie, he said, man, I hear your little reputation. You stabbing, you doing your little thing. He said, but let me tell you something. He said, if you did it right the first time, you would have never had to do it a second time. And he said something that was condescending, right? But he done it in such a diplomatic way that it made me really think and do some introspection and reflection on the decisions that I was making. He said, if you did it right the first time, you would have never had to do it the second time. And I realized that I did it 20 and 30 and 40 more times, and it still didn't change anything. The violence didn't change anything. You understand what I'm saying? The narrative, you know, they say if you want to get something you never got, you got to do something you never did. So I wanted to stay home. I wanted to have a legacy outside of violence. You know, and you know, while I was doing what I was doing in the prison industrial complex, man, I started helping a lot of people. When I was encountering these people 5 years later, 10 years later, 15 years later, 20 years later, and they were telling me, man, that you impacted and empowered me in such a way that you changed the narrative of my life. You changed the trajectory of my thinking. And they said, man, if it wasn't for you, ain't no telling what I would have turned out to be. I could have been a faggot, right? I could have been a snitch. I could have been homeless. I could have been unintelligent. I could have been, you know what I mean, the worst kind of human being. But because I encountered you, you know, you enriched me and empowered me in such a way that it caused me to see life in a more progressive way. So I said, damn, you know, if I'm helping all these other people, why I ain't been helping myself in the same way, in the same fashion that I've been helping others? So it started me doing introspection, self-reflection, looking deep within the crevices of my mind and being honest with my findings. So they say if you want something you never got, you got to do something you never did.
Wow. So jail for you, right? You know, being in jail. Now, how many different prisons were you at upstate?
All upstate, I was at 15 different institutions. I did over 13 and a half years in the hole.
And at 15 different, you never stayed really nowhere more than a year.
Yeah, except my later years when I was trying to calm down to come home, when I realized that it was time to come home, and they said, oh, no. They said, you done did all this stuff, now you want to chill? They got additional 5 more years out of me because they like, you ain't just going to do what you want to do. Now I'm trying to make parole, you want to chill?
So what you did, what, 20, how many years you did altogether?
Altogether, I did upstate 28 years.
28 years? 28 years. On a 6 to 12 year sentence.
That's because I never stayed. I always turn one case to another. I stay home 90 days and I get 15 more years. So I did life on an installment plan.
Life on an installment plan.
You still have parole now?
Huh?
You still have parole now, I'm assuming?
Yes, I'm still on parole.
How much time you got to walk off?
I got like 4 more years to walk off.
On a 6 to 12.
I see you finishing that easy now, though.
Yes, sir.
Easy now.
Do you see yourself going back? See yourself going back to prison?
No, I don't see myself going back to prison, man. I see myself being, I didn't survive all of those sadistic and barbaric environments not to be able to supersede these conditions and these environments, to be able to impact and empower the rest of the world. You know, a lot of people, man, give me so much praise and accolades for what I've done for them. So now, in turn, the same thing I've done for them, I want to do for me. And also do for my immediate environment, and I'm doing that. So,
Go ahead.
So, you know, the same praise and accolades. Let me say this right here, man, because I want people to know and understand this. When I never had nobody tell me they was proud of me until I was 41 years old. Right? And I told somebody when I was up Dallas, man, you know, I said, damn, man, my sister, because it stuck with me, it resonated with me, because this is the first time that I can actually remember somebody telling me they was proud of me. I was 41 years old. And my man said, dang, man, your family out of pocket, your sister out of pocket. Damn, that's crazy. I said, no, bro. I said, I had to be realistic with myself. What have I ever done for somebody to be proud of? See, it's about us taking accountability and responsibility for our decisions and our actions. How can I get mad at my sister or my mother or my brother not saying that they were proud of me when I haven't accomplished anything? All I did was rob, maim, murder, and shoot. What do you want them to say? I'm proud of you, son. Man, you shot the shit out. I'm proud of you, son. You got him 3 times. So, you know, it took for me to be 41 years old. And she said that in regards to me publishing 4 books. And she said, man, I'm proud of you. And then by me liking her, saying that, it was another high that I wanted to enjoy over and over and over again. So I said, Dad, this is how you get people to say that they're proud of you, by accomplishing things. Mind you, I'm 41. 41 years old, I just learned what emotional intelligence was. At 41.
I understand you all too well. All too well.
Do you think you'll ever recover? Like your mental or, you know,
Nah.
or that burden of, you know, of what you went through as a kid and a young adult will ever be gone from your mental?
No. You know, just like when George Jackson said, man, don't nobody leave out of prison whole. Comrade George said on the Soul Dad Brother, he said, no one leaves prison whole. Everybody that leaves prison leaves a shell of themselves, because the prison industrial complex will never allow you to walk out of there a man.
Prison industrial complex. Wow.
It would never allow you to walk out there a whole man, a complete man. So in order for you to get parole, they have to see a crack in your armor. They have to see that you are not what you once was, which meaning to be upright and resolute, to be strong, to be continuous, to be revolutionary minded. They have to be able to see a docile version of you. So it's about a mind game when you playing chess off board.
They want to see you with your hat in your hand. Yes,
Mhm.
master. Yes, boss.
Exactly.
Eyes got it now.
Let me
I've
ask you a
got
question, KD. From now, you being, not even now, is the respect in jail, in society, the same, or is one higher than the others?
For me,
Yeah.
it's the same.
You think the respect in jail, that the respect, like how we give it in jail, is the same as the street?
No, I think you give it more in jail.
Yeah.
You give it more in jail because you're acutely aware of the consequences of your acts.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Acutely
this
aware.
where you learn respect there, because you know that if you bump somebody, you don't say excuse me,
You'll
or you
die.
don't say thank you, or you don't hold that door, they feel like that you shut that door in my face. You saw me coming.
Mm-hmm.
So prison indirectly and subconsciously teaches you morals, principles, and standards.
Whereas the one out here not getting that type of training at all. And that's not no slight to society. It's just the geographics of both setups, society and the penal system.
Mm.
And it's just a fact.
So, this is school to the hard knocks, man. We learned a lot through them trials and errors, man. We learned the whole, I know I did.
Yeah.
I enriched myself, and I tell people when they tell me, man, KD, man, you did this for me, man. I'm glad that you are the person that you are. And I said, well, brother, it ain't, everybody say they don't want to be a follower. See, it's not that you're a follower, it's what you follow that makes you a fool. Because everybody follows something, whether you follow something that is conducive and conductive for you, or you follow something that is self-destructive. But we all follow.
Mm-hmm.
There's no such thing as a man saying, I'm my own person, I follow no man. It's emphatically impossible not to follow somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And what I did was I enriched myself and empowered myself by finding the best of the people that was around me and took a piece and a portion of their conduct, their character, their militancy, their diets, their habits, and I incorporated 20 different dudes into my personality.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody, when you look at the Cheddar Whale, you know what I mean? When you look at the other great brothers, that was very vicious, workout and studious people, I said, I like his study habit. I'm gonna start studying like him. Oh, he don't eat meat. He's very lean. He's very vibrant looking. His vitality is up to par. He's very nimble. I want to be like him in that regards, in that relation. Oh, he studied the dictionary. I'm gonna study the dictionary just like him. So when you see me, you see a plethora of great men who were striving to excel and become a beaming example of perfection.
How important is health?
Health is your greatest wealth. I mean, this I still preach this to the day. And let me say this, man, because I said early on that I was using drugs and was addicted to some form of substance from when I was a child. But what people today don't realize is that I got high, because I haven't been high since I was 17 years old. I stopped getting high at 17.
What's the worst drug a person can use? You got to look at all that crack, dope, alcohol. I mean, what do you think is?
You know what? When I was growing up, we looked at crack and dope as being one of the severe drugs. But you got to realize, understand the reason why it's really hard to say, because it varies from person to person. Everybody's mentality, personality, and struggle is different. Because you may drink and then I may not be able to be a social drinker, and that drinking to me will be just like me being a dope fiend. You know what I mean? Losing my family, losing my house, losing my car. So it varies from person to person, and some people got addictive personality disorder. You know what I mean? But me personally, I never used like crack or cocaine and things of that nature. That was like a no-no to me. That was taboo.
Yes. Yeah, I'm the same way. But I just, ask that question because sometimes, we live in a place where certain drugs are legalized, like
Right.
marijuana, alcohol, and things of that nature. So, but I was talking about this on another segment, that those things are just as detrimental to your health than anything.
I agree. And a lot of people, and I found this in my 40s, that alcohol was a carcinogen. It's a contributing factor to cancer. So a lot of people say, well, I don't smoke, so how do I catch cancer? Well, don't you know, drinking and alcoholism is a conduit to producing and establishing the cancer within your body. So it increases your chances of catching cancer just by drinking.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
No, I studied that stuff. I became a master of health now. I've been studying since 1996.
Wow. And this is like over a long period of time, or just something that just, as far as the cancer?
Yeah, it's over a long period of time. But each time you drink, you increasing your chances of catching cancer. Every drink, every shot, you increase your chances of catching cancer, just as detrimental to your body as cigarettes. They both do the same thing.
Because I see, my uncle passed away, and I know a couple people that I know passed away the same way. Like they would leave the crack alone, whatever they was using alone, and start drinking, and be drinking, and they end up popping up with cancer. You know, they see that a lot of people that drinks, they die with cancer.
It's a carcinogen. It's definitely a carcinogen. It causes cancer. It causes cancer, 110%. And you can Google it, look it up, Wikipedia. Drinking causes cancer.
And cancer is something that claims more lives than almost probably anything.
About 45,000 deaths of African Americans die from smoke-related deaths each year, or cancer. 45,000.
Wow. So, you know, how did you become? You know, I know you mentioned your, you know, your lifestyle. We're just getting into that. But what made you become more? Who was the most disciplined person that you ever was around? That was like disciplined. Well, I'm talking about workout regimen, eating right.
Cheddar Whale was one of the most disciplined and most spiritually rooted and principled person that I ever met in my life.
Who's that?
Cheddar Whale, Arthur Johnson. He ended up doing about almost 40 years in solitary confinement. He was one of the most disciplined, most spiritually rooted, culturally sounded person I ever met in my life. But you had people like Maroon Stokes. You know, like I said, I took a piece and a portion of all of these great men. JoJo Bowens. You know what I mean? The militancy. People that, you know, had strong regiments and diets. I took from all of the people that was great. And this brother right here was one of my spiritual mentors. One of the brothers that's sitting over in the sofa. He was one of the people that was a spiritual and intellectual giant in the prison industrial complex. And when I grew up under their tutelage and was nurtured by their education, it just made me want to be greater than them. I wanted to be like them, but greater than them at the same time.
How important is it to be disciplined? How important is discipline? How where do you put that as far as?
Number one, it's high up on the Richter scale, because if you don't have discipline, you will not achieve or excel at anything else in life. You have to have discipline. That's number one. Whether you got economic discipline, emotional discipline, psychological discipline, you need discipline. It's essential to growth and development.
Out of all those you mentioned, you know, you mentioned a few things, different types of discipline. What do you think is the most important?
I think mental discipline and spiritual. I'm gonna say spiritual then mental, because you know most people say I got mental discipline, but you know spiritual discipline is just as key. It's essential to growth and development. You know what I mean? This would establish your boundaries, your curriculums about your life. You know what I mean? Your standards and things of that nature, your morals. That spiritual discipline is extremely key, because that's oftentimes the people forget about that. They say, well, I'm physically disciplined. Or are you spiritually disciplined? That's key.
Let me ask you this. You know, I know you said you went to jail, and we didn't talk about this, but you may have had a significant other out here when you went to jail.
Yes. Well, it depends what time, because let me say this, man. This is another thing that I want people to know and understand, that when you start entering the prison industrial complex and you start thinking that you're going to have a mass amount of support, the love and admiration and appreciation of the people, it's not going to be that way. And when I did, man, 12 years, man, I might have got on the phone 30 times. Because my mother, like I said, we was poor, broke, naked, and outdoors, and she was unable to afford the high prices that those phone calls was. At the time, it was like $5.25 for 15 minutes. And I couldn't see me placing that burden upon her, knowing what her situation and circumstances was before I left. It was time that we didn't have food. It was time that the only thing that we had to eat or to have when we went to sleep was tea. You understand what I'm saying? So why would I then, in turn, expect her to have all of these things when she didn't have it when I was there? You feel me? So, and this, you know, that could have been a contributing factor to how I was running around, because I didn't feel like I had nothing to lose. Why not go to the hole? And wasn't nobody visiting me. Why not go to the hole? I wasn't getting on the phone. So this is also why some of these brothers is violent, because they don't have nobody to nurture them, hug them, care about them. And I know that because this is the same way I was now. When I started to create and establishing a source of economic revenue for myself, and I started having things going on in my life when I was achieving and establishing things, I wasn't so readily available to go to the hole. I wasn't willing to sacrifice like I was when I didn't have nothing. When I started creating businesses, when I started writing books and, you know, making money. You know, when all his was telling me that in the 90s, I said, man, they pussies, man. That's why they don't want to go to the hole. When they said me, there's too much money to be going back and forth to that hole, little KD. And I'm like, man, ain't no money in jail. How you getting money in jail? Not realizing that they was making hundreds of thousands of dollars from jail. So when I started sitting there with $10, $15, $20,000 on my books, I said, damn, this is what they were talking about 30 years ago. When you got an itinerary and you creating and establishing things, you don't make the same idiotic and emotional decisions. You start being more calculating. You start being more meticulous in how you utilize and apply your time. So this is why they are doing what they're doing in the streets today because they don't have anything on their itinerary. That's why you have to get up. And if you don't have a purpose, you have to create one.
Exactly.
If you don't have one, you have to find one and discover one, because if you don't have a meaning and purpose in life, you don't care where you end up.
Let me ask you this about this, because we speak about significant others, women. You know, how should, if from your standpoint, if someone wants to obtain success in a relationship and they have a significant other, how should they deal with their significant other? As far as how do you look at women as far as being in your life? I should say that.
While I was incarcerated, or
now that you're home.
You know what I mean? They got to be able to compliment you in some way, shape, form, or fashion. They got to be a symbiotic relationship. And what I mean by symbiotic, just for the people that don't know and understand that terminology or that word, when you look at nature, right? When you look at nature, just in case you don't know, the Earth spins on its axis. 1,037 1/3 miles per hour. The Earth is constantly spinning at a certain rate and speed, right? And while that Earth is spinning, it's pulling water up off the Earth in small misses of water that the eye can hardly detect. This is science. This ain't my rendition. This is not my interpretation. This is not my scientific narrative. This is proven that as the Earth is rotating 1,037 1/3 miles per hour, it is pulling water up off the Earth, right? And then after that water begin to weigh a certain amount, it goes up 6 miles out, and then it distills back to Earth. Depending on what the temperature is, it come down as ice. It comes back down as small misses of water, come down as rain, hail, and things of that nature, right? But what does it show you? It shows you that the same water that comes out the sky came from the Earth. And it's symbiotic. It's give and take. It's give and take. It's give and take. It's give and take. You plant the seed get water, it get nurtured by the sun, and so on and so forth. So it teaches you symbiotic principles. So if I'm going to be with somebody, then she has to be a compliment to me, and I must be a compliment to her. She had to be conducive to me, whether it's economically, politically, socially, or what have you. We had to be able to enrich and empower each other equally. It's called a symbiotic principle. It's just the laws of nature.
And if you don't have that, it's going to be hard for a relationship to work.
It's going to be imbalanced. It's emphatically impossible for it to work, because the laws of nature is not set up that way. And you got to realize and understand that we are products of nature. They're human beings. We are a product of nature.
What's the all-tell sign for you to walk away? Like, when is it time for you to walk? Because the reason why I ask this question is because a lot of times, you know, like, people come home from prison and they haven't had a relationship in a while, or haven't been around a woman in a while, and they come home and they come home to talk about this all the time. They come home to relationships where as though the kids don't like them, or they come home to trying to be a stepfather, you know, all the different things. What's an all-tell sign for you? Like, you know, if you think about a woman, like, I'm out of here after she does this, or if this happens.
One of the things that's high up on the Richter scale that everybody's saying, and I'm pretty sure you said it, and I'm pretty sure you have said it, that if she calls the cops on me one time, I'm done.
That's number one on the list.
That's number one on the list. But the other ones are this: if anytime somebody, like I said, knowing your triggers. That's why I said doing introspection, self-reflection, looking deep within the crevices of your own mind, and be honest with your findings. Because when you doing introspection and self-reflection, you begin to learn and master your triggers. So when somebody is always causing you to be disheveled, discombobulated, and emotionally and psychologically disheveled, then that's a telltale sign that this person is not mentally, psychologically, or emotionally compatible, because she's ready to cause you to relapse. See, relapsing is not just about drug use. Relapsing is about criminal mindedness. You say, I'm about to kill this bitch. So when you start thinking like that, then you already in turn starting about thinking about committing another crime. So you're relapsing. Your sobriety, your emotional and psychological sobriety, which means that you have repaired yourself. You have went to metamorphosis to such an extent that you became a new man. You grew into a new growth. So when somebody begins to cause you to think like your old self, you say, man, it's time for me to get up out of here.
Why is it so hard for men to walk away, though?
I think it's an insecurity. And I think it's the same way with women. That's why most women don't think they can do no better. And a lot of us who've been locked away, isolated and secluded and confined for a long extended period of time, we got attachment issues. So when we find somebody that finally tell us they love us or that they care about us, you know, it's hard for us to walk away from that, because we haven't been told that in such a long extended period of time, that false narrative or that false notion or that figment of our imagination, we'd rather hold on to that.
I agree.
And it may not be good for you.
It's not good. There ain't no may about it. It's no good for you.
Do you think it'll ever change? Like, a person can change for you, like, get you, and you or once they show you who they are, that's who they are.
That's who they are. I mean, but you know, that don't necessarily, because I was told this a long time ago, just because you love somebody don't mean that y'all necessarily need to be together. Y'all can love each other in different ways. You can still be supportive. You can still be their backbone. You can still be a teacher, aider, and a guide and a sister of that person, but that don't mean that we have to be sexually active. You know what I mean? Sometimes you got to learn how to enrich and empower people from a distance. And that's where, you know, we talk about wisdom. Wisdom is the power and ability. True wisdom is the power and ability to see things before it actually transpires. Being able to see down the great will of time.
Let me ask you a question, because we're getting, you know, the chat is heating up, man. So you got women. I mean, you got children, right?
Yes, I have a daughter.
And you don't have any sons, but you have a daughter.
Yes.
Are you raising your daughter the same way that you would raise your son? Militant, disciplined, things of that nature?
Yes. Only in a cultural sense, because, you know, when my daughter was like 11, 12 years old, when I had to call her home, right, she'd say, Dad, why everything with you is black and white? And I said, so you asking me that now, but when you grow and evolve and advance with time, intellectually, politically, and psychologically, you will know and understand why everything is black and white. I said, the whole world is black and white. You just don't realize it at this time in this juncture in time. I said, but when you grow and you begin to advance psychologically, intellectually, politically, and otherwise, you will know that this world is black and white. You know, so she's more militant in a sense. You know, she went through boxing training and things of that nature, or she went to college, and she right now in this present day is in medical school in Penn State trying to become a doctor.
Okay, wow.
You know what I'm saying? But psychologically militant, emotionally militant, politically militant. You know, I made sure that she knew and understood the political apparatus of this world and how it was manufactured and designed for our detriment and our demise. You know what I mean? She loves her curriculum. You know, she loves some of these European-based curriculums, but she know and understand that she have to be able to cherry pick what these people give us. You understand what I'm saying? Because you can never create and establish a solid African reality looking through European lens. And that's what I think when we talk about the self-hatred, the animosity, the violence that we perpetuate amongst ourselves, is because we're looking at each other through European lens. We may do it consciously and sometimes subconscious.
Wow.
You know, and then, you know how people say, well, man, you know, you use the word nigga. It could be used as a word of endearment, too. Like I said, man, you know, but most times you say, man, I hate that nigga. Why do you put the strong emphasis on that nigga when you upset, you irate, and you angry? You know what I mean? So we got to be able to, and this is why I don't subscribe to the word the young nigga, because we have to be able to be careful how we define our younger generation, because how you define a person, they begin to act according to that definition. Like when you say your girl, that's you, that's my bitch, that's my bitch. You know what you say? I'm that bad bitch, I'm the baddest bitch you ever had. She began to subscribe to that. That definition that you gave her, that's my bitch, that's my hoe. And she's like, I'm the best hoe you ever had. She began to accept that and internalize the principles of a hoe. So we have to be careful how we define our youth, because they begin to act according to those definitions.
We're about to get to these questions, man. This phone line up 215-316-4492, 215-316-4492. So, you know, you don't have any sons, but if you had a son, what would be the most, because there's a lot of fathers out there who got sons as well. What kind of advice would you give to anyone who has a son out there, or raising a son, based off your experiences in life? I would say create a curriculum for them to go through a rite of passage. You know, because these are the things that made us warriors. These are the things that made us guiders and fighters. You know what I mean? And in yesteryears, you know, when we was growing up in our indigenous societies and our indigenous communities, man, our sons knew how to build. They knew how to hunt. They knew how to gather. You know, these are the things that we must instill back into our younger generation. Allow them to be men. Teach them to be warriors. Teach them to gather, to hunt, and to learn how to navigate with hell-hand objects, and, you know, learn how to navigate in the wilderness. Learn how to be men. Build them up. Don't treat them as if they're women and try to orally nurture them. At what age do you think a man should get his son away from the mother?
I say around like 6 or 7. 6 or 7, because these are the times that they begin to baby them and talk to them in baby language. You know, they don't need that. They don't need to be overly nurtured. You understand what I'm saying? And this is why it's a retardation in growth. This is why right now they unable to manage their emotions. Like I said, I really didn't know what emotional intelligence was until I was 41 years old. When I kept going back and forth to the parole board, they said, man, you know, you have a history of being, you know, basically spontaneous. And I said, what you mean? They said, compulsive. And me, you know, being a wordsmith, I'm like, compulsive? What do you mean I'm compulsive? But, you know, just acting and responding without thinking about the emotional consequences. Right? So we have to be able to teach our children how to master emotions and not being afraid of them, in the sense that we don't deal with them. or men don't do what he must stop crying.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the most detrimental things that you can tell a child. Because the only people that don't deal with the emotions is the person that's in the grave.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
So I think that each child, each curriculum could be different based upon which household and the mentality and the personality of the child. It's like when you send a child into school, you know, and you got the special ed, he get a special curriculum. He may be in the same class, but they may be teaching different curriculums in that same school, right? In that same classroom. So I think it may be depending on house to house and the mentality of your child, the personality of your child, that you create a curriculum based upon his mentality, his personality. And at which level or what age you teach them certain things. But the thing about it is, man, people are just feeding their children, they're not raising them. They just feeding them.
The devices is raising them.
Yes. And this is why, you know, they'd rather kill you than deal with their emotions, man. But when as soon as they get behind that wall, man, I see them dudes killing on IG Live and they come in, oh, hey, what you think about this? And now you want to deal with your emotions. Now you want to be trying to think progressively, but we have to be able to teach them before they get to that point where they're taking another life and multiple lives. I was one of them people. So I know what it takes. And this is why I don't mind social interacting with the youth. I enjoy being around them and they enjoy being around me because I'm never going to give them a weak, dockside version of manhood. And we have to learn how to teach them, rear them, and educate them in what it means to be a boy and what it means to be a male and what it means to be a man, right? Because boyhood, malehood, and manhood is not the same thing. You understand what I'm saying? So those three stages of development must have its own curriculum. Boyhood, malehood, and manhood. And sometimes you got people that's stuck in between boyhood and malehood. Like you see somebody one day they serious and one day they not. You're like, damn, man, he confused me. One day he want to be serious. One day he want to be politically starched. He want to be socially strong. But then I turn around and he playing games. So he's stuck in between boyhood and malehood, but they think they have arrived to the pinnacles and apex of manhood. You know what I'm saying? That gender confusion again.
Wow. Y'all want to talk to KD, man? 215-316-4492. That's 215-316-4492. The lines is open if anybody want to call in and talk to KD. So, this is a hell of an interview, man. Why wait for people to call in? Where can people find you? Where can they get in contact with you?
People can come find me on Instagram at KD the General. They can find me on Facebook under Kareem Gaines, and they can find me on TikTok at KD the General. General KD on TikTok, excuse me.
Yeah, make sure y'all hit that like button, man. We need to we should have more likes in there, man. Hit that like button, man. So, I love the talk, man, especially when I feel like, somebody is speaking and, I'll say when the way I say my language, I like to talk on an intellectual level and, learn new things from individuals. And it seemed like today for me, I learned a lot from you today. And also what you did for me today was you kind of, just rewind the clocks of certain things that I want to implement that I may have forgotten about. I don't see myself going to prison either. I didn't spend a substantial amount of time in prison, but I was traumatized by the prison system because I was affected by it because my guys was in there and I was actually doing time on the streets while they was doing time in the system. How taking care of those in jail and going to see people in prison, so forth and so on, paying for lawyers, all these different things. But you in and out, back and forth in prison, in and out. What was the thing that happened that made you say, no, I'm done? If you can think about one thing.
The time that I gave him. I lost my mother while I was in prison.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I said, man, I can't continue to be. And I lost my brother while I was in prison, like I was saying earlier before we came on the air. And I said, man, the only way that I found out my brother was murdered is by me receiving an obituary in the mail. And I was already in the hole. I was in the hole at 2 years at that time. So I got tired of being in those type of environments and those type of conditions when things that was happening in my family and I was unable to do anything about it. I was unable to console my family. I was unable to hug them and nurture them and provide them with intellectual and spiritual substance at that time. So, I got tired of being in those environments, unable to do anything for my family.
Let's take this call. Tell us from the jails. Who's speaking with?
It's Cliff from the P.
What's up, Cliff? What's going on, man?
Oh, really enjoyed you guys Saturday night. And had a great time.
Oh, man. Thanks for coming out, man. I appreciate you for supporting us, man, and coming out to the show, man.
Are y'all going to put that live joint out?
Probably not. We're going to release the audio, but we won't be able to release the actual footage, but we'll release the audio.
Okay. The guest you had, we need a part 2 of him.
Today?
Yeah, he's like a real strong, like he an NOI brother. Like,
I
Yeah.
am.
yeah,
He can hear you.
I am,
definitely
brother.
got that from me.
Okay. You got any questions? You got any questions for him?
You say he's from Logan, down of Loudon. I'm a homie of mine, Kev, from down there. He blind.
Yeah, I know,
I don't know if you
Kev.
know Kev.
I do.
Yeah.
I know,
But
Kev.
yeah, I really thank you for this one, man. I like to hear part two, man. I like this brother.
I appreciate you for listening, brother.
All right, guys.
All right, thank you, man. Appreciate
Have a
it.
good night, man, guys.
You too.
Yeah, y'all. Phone lines is open 215-316-4492. 215-316-4492. So yeah, man, our platform, like I said, is designed to help deter individuals from going to prison. And when you have someone such as yourself, who it's like when you was incarcerated, you took your time. I know it was rough in the beginning as far as figuring out what you wanted to do, but then it's like you kind of gather a lot to kind of build yourself mentally and physically to be able to cope with things when you came out here in the world.
Yeah.
How do you deal with loss though? Like you see loss in your mom in jail, your brothers in jail. How do you deal with that?
I think I'm still trying to figure that out, right? Because I was just dealing with somebody that said that.
It's good. Tell us from the jails. Who's speaking with?
What's up, y'all? Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
Islam.
It's Dollar Bills from North. How y'all feel, man?
What's up, Dollar Bills? Man, shout out to North Philly. What's up, man?
I'm chilling, y'all. Great show on Saturday. I was in the building.
I appreciate that, man.
Want to commend y'all brothers.
Thanks, man.
Highly entertaining.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that.
And my call was, I was watching the show, the brother KD,
Mm-hmm.
and you hit on a lot of topics, right, that I identify with. So I grew up down J Street from that area, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as a result of that, my thing was the perks and the serve. That's how I got in, like, all my pitfalls in life, right?
Mm-hmm.
In and out, couple rehabs, jail, the whole nine, right? And it wasn't until 2013 until, like, I just gave all of that up, right? And you were speaking on, like, the relapse, like far as criminology goes.
Exactly.
And I always use that comparison of a drug addict to, like, the person that comes home and reoffend and eventually end up going back. Like that thinking from, like, the drug addict saying, damn, I got it together. I can go do X, Y, and Z, and eventually end up in the pit hole again. And same thing as far as, like, the criminal. Like, they say you're going to change. They say they're going to change, but then when they come home, they go back to the same environment and end up, like you said, mentally relapsing.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then from there, it's like the physical, right? But my question is, do you believe and think from your experience of your personal self and just everything going on, do you think drugs play a vital role in the decision-making that the young boys be making, or just people in general that eventually might get them a shitload of time or, get them killed or whatever the case may be? How pivotal do you think drugs play? And like she said, kind of sort of like they downplay certain joints, like, oh, liquor's cool, weed is cool, this is cool, but then this is a no-no. So basically, I'm just saying, what's your perspective on the drugs in the community and the harm that it causes?
I think drugs play a pivotal role in us making illogical and unintelligent decisions. But I truly believe that way before the drugs even entered the equation, man, we psychologically, emotionally, and spiritually damaged. Drugs just was one of the contributing factors because before I even got on drugs, the criminality was my drug. That's why I said, the energy and the vitality that I received from hurting and maiming and murdering other people, that was my drug. That's how I was fueling myself. That self-hatred runs deep. So I think self-hatred, self-doubt, and the lack of hope and faith is what destroyed us as a people. So when you add that, the drugs or whatever choice you may choose, what drug is your choice that you may bring into the equation, it's just an addition to our insanity and in addition to our madness, or addition to our psychological warpness. But drugs is definitely pivotal and key to destroying us as a people. But we have already been damaged. We was damaged long before we
Right.
even puffed on reefer, before we popped the pill. Because you got to realize and understand this, we was already suicidal before we decided to get on drugs. That's why we got on drugs, because we had suicidal thinking. So we was sick.
So is it fair to say that the hood is a manufacturing environment like jail?
It is. It's just a broader prison.
Okay.
You know what I mean? This is why George Jackson and all of our progenitors of the past said that even Minister Malcolm said any black man, woman, and child that is born in America is born into a prison. It's just a broader prison. Now the mayor and the local police, they just the COs that man they post. You know what I mean? The White House. When you go to the White House, you say, well, the White House, the president is the warden. You got to realize and understand that the police apparatus was created and established. You know what I mean? To suppress, oppress, and repress the poor. So before the old form of slavery, before they abolished slavery in 1865, they already created another version of it before they dismantled it. These people are wise at what they do.
Wow.
Right. So last thing, what's your number one solution to try to right some of the wrongs of the hood so that
love
people don't make the same mistake?
I think love, man. I think we got to lead with love, and I think people they don't realize to understand the significant power that love has, the spiritual power that love has, because love leads to unity. And unity cures about 95% of our problems, if not 100% of our problems. Because if you unify with a person, and then you have psychological unity, emotional unity, and spiritual unity, and then you start to see your brother as your brother, and your sister as your sister, and somebody else's mother as your mother, and somebody else's grandmother as your mother, you do not think about them as in terms of somebody to rob, kill, maim, or murder. You see them as you see yourself. So I think that if we lead with love, that love would in turn create and establish a version of unity that cannot be destroyed by anything or anyone.
And I always say that that unity destroys poverty.
Yes, sir.
Say no more, man. Listen, powerful message. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And like P for the Cliff said, we need a part 2.
Let's get it.
Yes, sir, brother.
Let's get it.
All right, y'all. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Okay.
Tell us from the jails. Who's speaking with?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Who's speaking with?
Speaking with Jake from your other.
Say it again.
Guy. What's up, guy? From Love.
Okay. What's going on, bro?
Ain't nothing, man. Just y'all doing a good job. Y'all got my way up there.
Okay.
Hey, guy. So you been listening the whole time, guy?
Yeah, man. I'll see you up there.
All right, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you one question. How many lies did I tell since I've been sitting on this sofa?
And anything is a secret. I ain't heard no family.
Yes, sir.
Official. Make sure you hit the like button. You heard that?
There's a few other people y'all need to get up on that joint, man. You know, stand up dudes that done a whole lot of time, man, from my way. That's loud, man. I'm very shy. Yeah, Mike Blunt, me, niggas done a lot of time. You come home and get right back to it, like man, miss a beat.
For sure, man. Yeah, man. We appreciate the call, man. We're gonna definitely try to do that, man. So whoever it is that you have them hit us up, man. See what we can do, man. Enjoy your day, man.
I love you, bro.
I love you too. Love y'all too.
All right, Sonic.
Assalamualaikum.
Salam. So yeah, man. This was a hell of an interview, and this was an interview that I think is going to do very, very well. I think the message that came from this actual interview it was a little different from what we experienced in the last few interviews, but this was a hell of an interview. Tell us from the jails, who's speaking with?
Oh man, it's Turkey Bands, man.
Turkey Bands, what's up, man? Shout out to you, man. What's up, man? Had a good time on Saturday, man.
Not much.
On duty.
Man, and I appreciate y'all for that. Black, you did your thing.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
I just want to say to KD, man, listen, bro. Everything that they saying to you under your comments, your negatives, positives, take it all and you run with it, bro.
Yes, sir.
As far as anybody saying that you crazy, let them say it. I think some of these people out here need to see crazy, so they don't need to go ahead and touch the jab.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
But I definitely appreciate your message today. Hopefully we can get part 2 soon. Black and Feek, I appreciate y'all so much for Saturday. I had a great time.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out
Same
to
here,
the
bro.
members.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate you, man.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. Yeah. So once again, man, you know, where can people find you at? Once again, in case they missed it, where can they find you?
Everybody can find me on Instagram at KD the General. You can find me on Facebook under Kareem Gaines, KareemGaines, and you can find me on TikTok under General KD.
Listen, I was asked this question a lot of times, man. If it was one last thing you can say, if this was your last interview that you ever had, that you ever do, what would be your last message that you would leave to the listeners, the viewers all around the world? Let's take this last call real fast. You can answer that. Tell us from the jail, so we're speaking with.
This Art from King of Prussia.
Shout out to King of Prussia. What's up, bro?
Good, bro. I just wanted to say,
Your phone going on.
Black, I'm definitely going to get this.
Hey, we can't hear you. You got to turn down something. We can't hear you going in and out.
You can hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, first off, I'm definitely going to be popping some of that merch, Black. Alarming rate shirts.
Mm-hmm. Appreciate that.
And I just wanted to say, man, to KD, yo, we got to get a part 2, man. And I think I don't know much about him yet, other than the interview, but, bro, I think you should go into, like, podcasting or something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure you got a million stories, bro.
Yeah,
Part 2, bro.
For sure.
Tune into my page, bro.
No, definitely. I'm going to follow you, bro. Appreciate that.
All right. Thanks, man. Enjoy your day, man. Appreciate the call. Excuse me.
All right, y'all have a good night.
You too.
You too, brother.
Tell us from the jail, so we're speaking with.
Y'all, this is great. This is the Bull Righteous from Uptown.
What's going on, man? How you doing, man? Shout out to Uptown.
Much respect to y'all 3 men up there.
I appreciate you, man.
Hey, KD.
Yes, sir.
I want to be part of your revolution, bro.
Hey, man,
For real, man.
you're already a part of it, man. If you Black, socially conscious, and politically aware, you're already a part of the solution and not the problem, man. Just, you can connect with me and contact me, man, on any of my social media platforms, and we can definitely get together, man, because I've been doing some community work, getting with other organizations, man, some nonprofits, some community activists, man, and I'm lending my expertise and some of my psychological, mental, and spiritual resources to them, and trying to quell and suppress some of the problems and the ills that's affecting our community as a whole. So I'm willing to connect with any of y'all.
Man.
Yes, sir, brother.
Hey, KD, I got 3 questions though, man.
What's
back
that?
to back. How can someone acquire discipline, emotional intelligence, and a militant state of mind if they don't know where to start?
Hey, man, this is why it's people like me and people like you, because you got to realize and understand, like I said, we had to create and establish a curriculum for the younger generation to follow. They can't just find their way on their own. I mean, when you look at any species, whether it's a bird, a bear, or whatever the case may be, they are nurtured into how to be exactly what they are by nature. A bird don't just get up and fly out the nest. The mother nurture it in the way that it's supposed to go. It teaches us young, it rears young, and I think this is what we have begun to do as an adults. We forgot our responsibility. We think our only responsibility is to feed them physical foods. We don't spiritually enrich them. You think dropping them off at church is going to make them spiritual. You think dropping them off at the masjid is going to make them spiritual. This is something that you have to create and nurture in the household. You understand what I'm saying? We had to be able to create those curriculums. We got to get back in front of the people and lead, aid, guide, and assist the people politically, socially, and emotionally, man. We have to be able to lead the charge. So what we have to do as elders, is intellectually equip and qualify ourselves to be the leaders of the new school.
Man, bro, are you talking and spilling your knowledge? You gave me power, bro.
I appreciate it.
Power of the mind, power of the spirit, bro. Power of the soul, man. I'm telling you, bro.
Appreciate you.
You're a great man, KD. I respect you, bro.
Yes, sir, brother. I respect you too, brother.
So Tafik and Black, man.
Appreciate you.
Great interview, man.
Appreciate you, man. Enjoy your day, man. Thanks for the call.
Yo, much respect and much love to y'all, man.
I love you too, black man.
Yeah, so we can take another call. I'm gonna take maybe one more talk.
Yeah.
That's it.
One more after this?
No, this one, yeah. Tell us from the jealous we're speaking with.
Hey, young Feek, salam alaikum.
Alaikum salam. What's going on, Marky Mark?
What's going on, young Black? How you feel over there, Black?
What's up, man?
KD, what's up, homie? Good seeing you over there, man.
What's up, brother Elder? How you feel?
Sitting back here smiling, man. You look good over there. I'm glad, man.
You know,
Seriously, Feek, I knew this young boy, man, since like 10.
Mm.
And to see him doing what he's doing now, just this positive energy, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. It's good. It's good.
But listen, man, it's happened. You know, firstly because of the, the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then you helped put this together, man. So I appreciate you, man.
Okay, lad.
Appreciate you, bro.
Lord merciful, man. If you tell some stories, man, it's the same feeling you get when you sitting there and just looking at him. I had him with me just picking his brain, man, just staring at him, smiling, because I know him from then.
Yeah.
And just to see him now, man, I sit in the car and just stare at him and said, yo, yeah, I like the direction we're going, brother, man. I like this energy. Yeah, KD, man.
You know, man, because majority of the time that I ran across you, man, I was always on the run for some type of crime, whether it was multiple shoots, 8, 9, 10. The life that I was living, man. I was living a barbaric, sadistic lifestyle. And you know that I had no consideration and compassion for humanity. I was detached, psychologically and emotionally. You watch my growth, my development, and my transformation.
Yeah, you're not lying, man. A lot of things you said. Man, the crazy part is, the things I thought you was going to talk about, you didn't even talk about. So I know you probably got part 2, 3, 4, 5, because they didn't even get the tip of the iceberg.
No. It's so much,
yeah,
man. I mean, this like brother like you, man, that always gave me inspirational, motivational dialogue and communicative skills, man. It's brothers like you, man, that always believed in me when I didn't even believe in myself. Y'all saw my value, my worth, my talents, and my gifts, man, when I didn't. You know what I mean? It's just only because, like I said, man, I was emotionally intoxicated. I was psychologically intoxicated, which means that I was having unhealthy thoughts and ideas and concepts and views about myself, my broader community, and the family that raised me and rears me in the way that I was. So I had so much hatred and animosity towards myself and the rest of the world, man, that I was unable to really process the gift that the Lord placed inside of me. And I always tell people, they say, well, man, you speak so well, man. Everybody not equipped and qualified to do that. I said, well, Allah does not create any creature without a gift or a talent. You just had to dig beneath the surface to find your gifts and talents. All of us are created with a gift and a talent. We just had to look past the layers and find the gifts and the talent that the Lord has blessed us with, so that we can enrich and empower the people with that gift and that talent. Because none of us is born without a talent, without a gift.
I hear you, young brother, man. It's always a pleasure talking to you, man.
Likewise. I love you, brother.
I appreciate you, man.
Love you too, boy.
Appreciate that's gonna be the last call for the day, Tawfiq. But if you could, man, elaborate if you could about the if like I said, this was your last podcast you ever did, or your last message that you get out to the world, what would you say to the people?
I would tell the people, man, that we need to learn how to love each other. We need to learn how to nurture each other, be respectful, you know what I mean, and see each other as brothers and sisters instead of enemies and ops. Because if you can look at a man who have done a small infraction to you as an op, then you must look at your historical enemy as a greater ops, one who have retarded you, one who have, destroyed you, one who have fractured you. You know what I mean? But you find a way to really shop with them, support them, love them, and forgive them for their crimes against you. But yet you hate and constantly look at the people that look just like you and make them a long-term enemy. Sometimes we got to look past the pain. This brother that shot me, and I was able to forgive him. But I shot him, going to go shoot 3 other people. So who am I to still be mad at him when I was going to go shoot 3 other people when he shot me? So we got to learn how to look past the pain. People say, well, he killed my brother, he killed my aunt. Well, at some point, we're going to have to learn how to love each other, to get mature about what's really going on, and unify our resources, unify our time and our gifts and talents in order to create and establish a new reality. Right? So I would tell people that love is one of the greatest motivational factors in the world. And I would say that our unity is more powerful than a hydrogen bomb. And sometimes our unity is more important than prayer, because when we are unified, the things that we would be praying about, we wouldn't have to pray about it, because we would be able to unify it with our economics and our resources and produce the desired reality. So, I just want people to have love and respect for each other, man, and learn how to look past the pain and learn how to work past the pain and be people to each other, man, and learn that just because you are in the shape and the mold of a human being does not mean that you function in that capacity. Because you can look like a human being and function and think like an animal and think like a beast. So learn how to get equipped and qualified and acquainted with your humanity, man, and begin to live that out.
Yeah, yo. So listen, man. KD came through today, man, and this was a hell of an interview, man. And I want to thank you, man. Want to say go ahead.
One more thing, I got to say this because when I was locked up, when I was secluded, when I was confined, when I had no emotional report, when I had no psychological report, when I had nobody who would give me the time and the energy of the day, I got to shout out King Ernie, man, because he was the person who motivated me and told me that I had what it takes. He was the person that reposted me. He was the person that shared this platform with me when nobody else did. So if y'all don't know who King Ernie is, man, follow his page, man, his cooking page. This is the man that have grown, evolved, and advanced with time, who have matured over the last 4 or 5 years, significantly. And I think this is the person that deserves the people's support. Donnie Warzone, I want y'all to follow him on Global Monstrosity, the person who also assists me and tell me that I got what it takes. And also my brother and mentor and progenitor, brother Minister Asadi Allah, brother Minister Joshua, who came down and emotionally supported me today. I love the brothers and I love those who called in, man, and let us know that we enriched you, empowered you, or informed you in some way, shape, form, or fashion, man.
So listen, y'all. This episode will be available. You can re-watch or listen to this episode on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio. We are ready to continue to put out good content. As you can see, this interview was amazing, especially after Saturday night. We need to come back with something even stronger. So listen, man, I want to thank y'all for tuning in. Thank everybody for being a part of the show. Thank you, KD, man, for coming through. And you're always welcome to come to our platform. Once again, Black Youngin, he's here with us as well. And everybody that's behind the scenes is here in the studio as well. I want to